have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Buda, tuko na mgala wako hapa.
Who the hell are you?
Tunataka kupiga exchange. Kwa prisoner mko naye hapo na wewe mgala.
Prisoner mgani unaongea kuhusu nini?
Lola.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa. Ni uchungu sijui imetoka wapi.
Lola. Uko sawa je, unapiga nduru? Nini mbaya?
Wainapa kuna Zari. Twende Zari. Zari. Wainapa kuna Zari.
نياد أوغاتي عدتي شيء الكيغا.
نعم.
وحربا إني قوثان.
Zari.
وحربا إني وهذا إنتان.
Good morning, the 25th of April 2023. Big question is, are you a member of a cult? And if you are, would you know? They say religion is an opium for the poor, and given what is happening in relation to the controversial Pastor Mackenzie, indeed, instead of looking at good aspects of Christianity, we are aping and unfortunately following the leaders right to our graves. Quick tips about what a cult is that the leaders actually are manipulative. Members of this particular cult, stay away from others. On top of that, leaders do not like being questioned. So if you're in a certain organization where you cannot question your leader, you're actually often, there's manipulation financially as well as emotionally. You're ostracized from the rest of your family and community. Then you need to check your leadership. Good morning once again. This is Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara. We have quick updates in regard to what is happening, given that today we expect Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki down in Kilifi to follow up on that particular issue. 800 acres there, and the police continue exhuming bodies, bringing the total currently as we know it to 73. Over to you, Doreen.
It's a sad state of affairs, Regina, and as you rightfully put it, so 73 bodies as of yesterday night. We don't know how many more are going to be exhumed today. Indeed, the CS expected there today. IG was already there. The DCI, Japheth Koome, also the Inspector General, as I said, was also there yesterday. Just we're looking at different various stakeholders who've just made their way there. But the primary question remains: should then churches be regulated, or is it that there needs to be more sensitization of people? Where do you draw the line between faith and deceit? At what point does all this happen and take place? Just at what point would you say a knowledgeable person would even sell their property, leave their lucrative jobs for this purpose? Yet oftentimes we would keep witnessing this emanating from the people on the lower cadre of the society. So how does this really affect someone's psychology? Ram, we a bit touched on this yesterday on our intro, and we keep seeing this story develop.
And it's growing.
Yes.
One thing that I believe...
It's sad.
Yes, sad as it is, I do not actually want to talk more right now because of time, but I believe that we need to have a clear picture on what exactly we are talking about when we refer to as regulation. Are we regulating religion or spirituality? There is a difference. You can regulate religion, but you cannot regulate spirituality. Remember, in the Constitution, there is we have the rights and the freedoms to associate, or the right to, or the freedom to believe in whatever you want to believe. Those rights and freedoms are there. But where do you draw the line? We need to have that candid conversation. I believe that if we are to solve this problem, we need to talk to Kenyans living in the grassroots areas, from the person who is at the village to the person who is at the urban area, for you to understand the true meaning of spirituality and the difference between spirituality and religion. Because this is what can make us to distinguish between a true church and a false one, a cult and one that is actually a true one. Well, today I really wish my director would allow, we need to talk, to have this conversation. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to Good Morning Kenya. It's a pleasure being with you today on this fine Tuesday morning. One thing that I want you to know is people suffer for lack of knowledge. And that's why we are here as KBC, to keep you informed and educated. My name is Ram Aguko, but before all of this, I hand you over to Regina.
I like exactly what you have said, Ramaguko, there, that people suffer for the lack of knowledge. And the conversation about cultism in the country, this is not the first time we're actually having this debate. Unfortunately, this is the largest number of deaths that have been related to a cult-like organization. At a time, I want to take you back to a controversial statement that was made by Ida Odinga, the wife to former Premier Raila Odinga, in regard to regulating the church. And this actually poked the wrong hole, so to speak, eliciting a lot of debate. Rwanda has gone that way. Is it time for Kenya to actually adopt some of those policies that will, provide guidelines and a framework within this particular, niche sector? Well, it's subject to debate. 8 people have been rescued alive from a forest in Shakahola after they attempted to starve allegedly to meet their maker under the leadership of controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie. This as 26 more bodies have been exhumed from unmarked graves, bringing the number of alleged killings from the Mackenzie-led Good News International Church to 73.
Mackenzie, sasa watu si ameua.
6 people, including an assistant pastor to controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, are spending in police custody after they were arrested Monday at a forest in Shakahola, Kilifi County. Fatalities in the Starvation to Glory ploy rose to 73 with the discovery of 26 more bodies in the expansive forest. Most of the victims were women and children, members of the Good News International Church, a religious organization to controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie. 8 people are reported to have been rescued alive after they attempted to starve to death in Shakahola in order to meet with their maker. Meet Joyce Ngetich.
Sasa baada ulipataje information kwamba yuko huku?
Tunaongea naye na simu. Na chabu kudanganya nifanye acha nikuje nikuchukue, anakataa, ananiambia kuja usikuje, sirudi Barbary, lakini mwisho nimempata.
According to Joyce, her husband left home for Shakahola on 12th November 2022 and he has been in communication with her since then.
Mmekuaje? Umempata akiwa hali gani?
Aliko sawa, alikuwa anatoka Kisiagi, amenomena na unga, aende kubika msituni, akula huko mwezi wa sita, ngojea Yesu ndiye aende.
Wewe unajisikiaje?
Mimi niko sawa, nafurahia kwa sababu nimempata, kwa sababu watu wako wananiambia ni wapee kijana yao.
Steve Mwaniki from Kitui County is however not lucky enough yet to find his brother.
Juzi tuliongea na yeye na ikawa anaongea na sauti kidogo sana. Akawa anafifia ni kama alikuwa anaendelea na kufast. Na jana nilijaribu kuongea na yeye akachukua simu lakini hakuongea. Instead alinitext. Akaniambia wako hai wakiwa watatu. Na bado nilipitia kwa DCIO, wakaniambia leo ndio operation kubwa itafanyika huko msituni. Na bado sasa niko huku ndio tuhakishe kama hiyo namba yake tutatrace. Na bado sasa hivi tunaendelea na kutrace hiyo namba yake tuone kama akiwa tutapata akiwa sawa kulingana na vile alikuwa amenieleza kwa text.
How does somebody tell you not to eat? You see yourself dying, your colleague dying, you are losing weight. but this person telling you not to eat is adding weight. Therefore, I think let's start by not pointing fingers. We're in this situation. Can we maybe sensitize our people?
According to the Kenya Red Cross Society, 212 people have been confirmed missing from their homes. Irene Mchuma Odim, Good Morning Kenya.
That is a clearly incensed Inspector General of Police there, Japhet Kome, who is also baffled at, what they are finding in the 800-acre piece of land that is owned by controversial preacher Mackenzie there. We understand this morning, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki is going to be leading another contingent heading down to that particular farm down in Kilifi as, the police continue, a rescue effort as well as exhuming bodies believed to have been members of the controversial church, Good News Church. They are led by controversial preacher Mackenzie there. And there's a question I've been posing and I've been asking myself, unfortunately now that will be very rhetoric. How do people disappear from a village or within a family and no one reports? How does that happen? We do not live in isolation. Why would your brother, your husband, your wife depart from your home, allegedly to worship, or to a place of worship, for days, for months, and you're still okay with their absence? Now, still keeping up on that, President William Ruto has called for the prosecution of Pastor Paul Mackenzie over the deaths of dozens of his followers whose bodies were discovered buried in Shakahola Forest in Kilifi. Speaking during the prison's office pastor parade yesterday, the head of state likened the pastor to a terrorist for ordering Kenyans to do actions contrary to the tenets of the Constitution. The number of bodies so far retrieved from the forest have risen to 73.
President William Ruto has broken his silence on the death of dozens of followers of Pastor Paul Mackenzie, whose bodies were discovered buried at Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County. The head of state said the acts of Mackenzie are akin to terrorism and are contrary to the tenets of the Constitution.
What we are seeing in Kilifi, in Shakahola, is akin to terrorists. There is no difference between Mr. Mackenzie, who pretends and postures as a pastor, when in fact he is a terrible criminal. Terrorists use religion to advance their heinous acts.
Ruto further directing relevant state agencies to look into the matter, even as he urged Kenyans to continuously be on the lookout for those who want to abuse religious teachings.
And I have instructed the agencies responsible to take up the matter and to get to the root cause and to the bottom of the activities of religious or people who want to use religion to advance weird, unacceptable ideology in the Republic of Kenya that is causing unnecessary loss of life.
At the same time, the leader of Minority Party at the National Assembly has criticized the criminal justice system and the security system for failing to prevent the Shakahola cult deaths. The leader of the Minority Party claimed the suspect behind the massacre has been in and out of court with his accomplices on several occasions, regretting that the criminal justice system set them loose.
Shirika hili la NIS lilishindwa kutekeleza wajibu wake. Na hadi si mtu mmoja, si watu wawili, si watu watatu. Watu waliopoteza maisha ni zaidi ya mamia. Je, polisi wetu na wachunguzi wetu walikuwa wapi? Lakini uchunguzi wao mkubwa ni saa zile Azimio wakianza kuita mkutano.
That so-called visit by Mr. Kome to Shakahola, following our statement really, is too little, too late. In any event, if we were in a more civilized society, he should have resigned by now. He shouldn't have been going to Shakahola. He should have tendered his resignation and gone home together with his bosses. Okay? So we see that move or that visit as merely an insult to the people of Kilifi and Shakahola in particular.
Sijalala vizuri mimi kama mama nikifikiria wale wanawake wote ambao wameweza kuzikwa pale katika Shakahola. Nikifikiria ni watoto wangapi leo hii wameenda mbele za haki, wamerudi kwa Mwenyezi Mungu pasipo na makosa ya aina yoyote. Mimi kama mama nalia na naumia katika roho yangu.
Meanwhile, a section of clerics from various parts of the country have condemned the tragedy in Shakahola, calling on Kenyans not to have a blanket condemnation on the church.
We shouldn't just point a finger at Paul Mackenzie. We should also point a finger at ourselves and say, if we teach our people, we train our people, we disciple our people, then they should be able to distinguish between the true gospel and the false gospel.
Doctrine that made people die is not what we preach, is not what we believe in, and we want to appeal to anyone who makes policies in the government not to look into that and generalize for the whole body of Christ.
But humbly and respectfully urge the Kenyan government to think very carefully about punishing the churches of Kenya of any faith because of the actions of this individual.
That particular conversation continues to elicit a lot of debate in regard to where we are as a society when religion is actually used, to condemn people to their early graves. Still keeping up on what was happening yesterday, President William Ruto has tasked the judiciary and the office of the Attorney General to deal with the congestion witnessed in prisons across the country. Speaking while presiding over the 26th pass-out parade of 222 cadets, the prison's staff training college in Ruiru, the head of state recommended that petty offenders be released to ease the congestion in the prisons.
The 26th pass-out parade of 222 cadet officers at Prison Staff Training College in Ruiru. It is here that President William Ruto called on the judiciary and the Attorney General's office to consider releasing petty offences to ease congestion in prisons.
I note that more than 10,000 prisoners are serving sentences of 3 years and below. Further, 41% of the prison population is awaiting trial for bailable offences. All these people need not be incarcerated. It is important for stakeholders in the justice ecosystem to seriously implement alternative dispute resolution and to consider alternatives to imprisonment for relatively minor sentences.
The head of state said there is a need for the empowerment of prisoners to prevent them from relapsing into crime. Ruto hailed the graduates for completing the training, urging them to diligence in service and utilizing the knowledge gained to transform the prison service.
You will have the responsibility of performing your duties lawfully in a manner that promotes the objectives of our correctional system and complements our economic transformation agenda through occupational training.
He said his government is currently undertaking mechanization in prison farms and modernization of prison enterprise services.
We are going to provide, as I committed, 67 new tractors and other implements and equipment that will enable the prison department in the lands that they have to put under production 8,000 acres to produce maize, to produce rice, vegetables, and other produce that will support the government program on food sufficiency.
On 21st December 2022, a presidential task force was appointed to look into reforms at the Kenya Prison Service, National Police Service and National Youth Service.
The future lies in a healthy mix of recruits who joined the disciplined forces regularly or through the regular program, and those also who join as officer cadets.
A lot of these men and women are always called upon to serve beyond our borders in peacekeeping efforts, in training of other nations' people, and that is a clear recognition that Kenya has made tremendous strides.
As a service, we remain steadfast on implementing our mandate to contribute to peace and tranquility in our beloved country, Kenya.
And we are very excited because this is a team that is going to help us roll a lot of programs on the ground, and also ensure that they fit in the professional spaces. We have schools in prisons, in our prison service. We have clinics, and we actually have a level 4 hospital here that is coming up, and we will be commissioned later.
In the headlines, it takes its first breather. We'll be right back with more news updates. Do not go away.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you score that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Buda, tuko na mgala wako hapa.
Who the hell are you?
Tunataka kupiga exchange. Kwa hiyo prisoner mko naye hapo na wewe mgala.
Prisoner mgani unaongea kuhusu nini?
Lola, uko sawa?
Niko sawa. Ni uchungu sijui imetoka wapi.
Lola. Uko sawa je, unapiga nduru? Nini mbaya?
Wenapa closari. Twende Zari. Wenapa closari.
نياد أوغاتي عدة شيء الكيغا.
نعم.
وحربا إني قذان.
Zari.
وحربا إني وهذا إنتان.
What's wrong with Julia? What are they talking about?
I heard them say something about a capability assessment. What does that mean exactly?
There are 2 ways to test that.
How can you now say you believe in us 100%? And why bother telling us to work together as a team to improve our sales? Do you think all of us are just a bunch of idiots?
Though I don't know what happened in there just now, I do know how hard Julie's worked to help Immortal become what it is. So if Julie is leaving Immortal, then I don't see any good reason for us to stay.
So many have left. Aren't any of us worth trying to keep? No one.
I'm Regina Manyara and this is Good Morning Kenyan KBC Channel 1. Now to some good news is that Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital has launched a new technology that will help reduce the cost of treating cancer from 2 million shillings to around 350,000 shillings. The robotic radiotherapy device dubbed CyberKnife, launched by President William Ruto at the facility, will administer cancer treatment with precision, reducing hospital visits to 5 from the 30 with a session lasting less than 30 minutes.
Kenya is on a drive to make cancer treatment manageable and reduce the burden faced by many families in seeking treatment abroad. To try and cut the cost, Kenyatta University Referral Hospital Monday unveiled a technology dubbed the CyberKnife that relies on robotics to treat cancer tumors without damage to healthy tissues. Launching the technology, President William Ruto said the government is now looking at integrated ICT in medical services to promote telemedicine and establish health management information systems.
CyberKnife is ready to start treatment since it is stored and fully functional. After today, Your Excellency, actually engineers will undertake the final testing, undertake the soft run and the dry run, and in 2 weeks' time, the CyberKnife services will commence with treating the first patient.
Besides launching the CyberKnife, which is at the end of the continuum of care for oncology, it also has a PET scan that does diagnosis of cancer. And Your Excellency, they have continued to provide expertise to the 10 regional cancer centers that we have within the country.
We are committed to integrating preventive and promotive health into the universal health care coverage. Beyond this, it is our intention to build a transparent and efficient supply chain management system integrated with ICT in medical services.
As a way of reducing the disease's burden, the president said his administration is working round the clock to expedite the provision of universal health coverage by eliminating loopholes and have all Kenyans enjoy quality Medicare.
And again, let me say that we have taken time. We have interrogated the new National Health Insurance Scheme legislation. We have gone through the regulations that were taken to court by some of our partners, and we have agreed, in fact, with some of the proposals of our partners, that there is no need for matching of our contributions on health.
Some of the diseases they talk about here are diseases that bankrupt families. First of all, you inflict the pain, the emotional pain, and then they inflict the financial pain.
The new CyberKnife technology administers treatment with precision and reduces hospital visits from 30 to 5, with sessions lasting less than 30 minutes.
And I agree with the comments made by the chair of this great institution that we have waiting lists running into months for access to chemotherapy, for access to linear machines in our various institutions.
That's what you refer to a step in the right direction. Now, off to stories that have been making headlines across the counties is that the body of a middle-aged man was retrieved from Cathita River in Meru County with injuries on the face. Initial investigations indicate that the body was in the water for several days before it was discovered. Meru Police Commander Ezekiel Chepkwonyi says the body has been sent to the Meru Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary for further investigations. This and more stories from the County News Roundup.
The body of a middle-aged man has been retrieved from Cathita River in Meru County. According to residents, Gitimbine area, especially at Cathita Bridge, has deteriorated with cases of murder and theft on the rise.
Ndio tunaomba serikali yetu ya Meru County na national government ishikane tuwekee laiti mzuri hapa Cathita, kwa sababu kila mwaka tunatoa mtu hapa, kila mwaka tunatoa mtu hapa.
Kuna sehemu mingi ukiangalia hazijafunikwa. Kama Pandei kuna sehemu mingi haijafunikwa. Kama hiyo ile ningependekeza kwamba waeke electrical wire. Hiyo ndio itakuwa muhimu sana. Sababu wezi wakiwana wanatoroka wanaingilia kwa hiyo njia.
Elsewhere, the Mombasa Disaster Management Committee is appealing for support from well-wishers to alleviate the challenges faced by 1,671 persons affected by floods, as tens of deaths relating to rotavirus are reported since the outbreak.
Tuna drop off locations ambazo tumeweka ili mtu ambaye anataka kwa mfano kupeana vitu za ujenzi, chakula, chochote. Mahali ya kwanza itakuwa ni hapa mahali tuko Koblenz Hall hapa Kenya Red Cross headquarters ya Mombasa. Pia tutatumia fire station ya Likoni. Tutatumia pia Changamwe sub-county fire station. Na pia tutatumia Emergency Operation Center ambayo iko kule Chuda. Watu wengi wanaijua kama Inspectorate because hii mambo yote inaangaziwa kutoka pale.
Meanwhile, presiding bishop of the Anglican Church in southern Kenya, Charles Muturi, has recommended that church leaders be involved in the campaigns being developed in the central region against the use and consumption of excessive alcohol.
No committees that are being formed, either in location, sub-location, even in the sub-county. The church should be in the forefront if we are going to fight this alcohol.
Finally, the residents and business people in Kitale are appealing to the government to take street children back to reunite them with their parents so they can be taken back to school. This comes after the residents found a street boy dead behind the children's office at Kitale Police.
Now, as we bring this to a close, is that as far as matters of fuel costs, the public wants the Public Debt Management Office to be given more powers to manage Kenya's debt portfolio. Currently, we're looking at a public debt of around 8.9 trillion shillings. We'll be keeping tabs on that as we inch closer to the budget day presentation and the marking of the end of the financial year 2022-2023, where government intends to spend 3.6 trillion shillings in the next financial year 2023-2024. Enough of business. I hand you over to my colleague Ram Aguko for this morning's candid conversation. To you, Ram.
Of course, thank you so much, Regina, for that. Now we proceed with this still. Good morning, Kenya. We proceed with our next part of this morning show. And we want to take a look at the newspapers on our dailies, what is making headlines this fine Tuesday morning. Remember, it is the 25th of April 2023. And in our dailies, we have one trending conversation about the Shakahola massacre. I have with me a copy of the Standard newspaper, a copy of the Star newspaper, a copy of the Daily Nation, and a copy of the People Daily. And my oh my, with all these copies, my friend, wouldn't you fail to know what's happening in the country? Well, we just invite you to be part of this conversation right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Ram Aguko. As I mentioned, my handle is at Ram Aguko, and the official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Joining me on set as we discuss matters concerning the nation, I am joined by, to my far right, Frank Nyamari Onchweri, who is a political analyst, and next to me, I am with Daniel Mwathi, also a political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
Pleasure.
Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
Of course, even as we do that, let me start with what is on the Standard newspaper. Now, this particular story here we have on the splash of this first page, cult massacre. That's on the splash of the Standard newspaper. Now, questions abound after more than 70 bodies of cult victims were dug up in graves on land said to belong to Pastor Paul Mackenzie. Is there a recruiting agency? Why didn't the intelligence community smell a rat in spite of too many telltale signs? Did local police look the other way as gullible faithful were lured to their deaths? Is it time to regulate religious activities? That is what is being highlighted on this front page of the Standard newspaper. Questions being asked on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Also being quoted there is the president, who is quoted saying, and I quote, "What we are seeing in Shakahola is akin of terrorist. Mackenzie is a terrible terrorist. I have instructed the agencies responsible to get to the bottom of the activities of people who want to use religion to advance weird and unacceptable ideologies." End of quote. That is on the front page of the Standard. Also, on this particular paper here, Governors to Ruto say that pay in 14 days or we close down. Governors to Ruto says pay in 14 days or else we close down. What is that all about? We shall be taking a look at that in a bit. Let me move on to the Daily Nation on the front page. Shakahola horror deaths jump to 73. On the front page of the Daily Nation, police exhume another 26 bodies from multiple graves in Pastor Paul Mackenzie's Shakahola village farm in Kilifi yesterday, taking the toll to 65, with 8 other church members who had been rescued succumbing in hospital. But the search for bodies is not yet over amid reports controversial pastor had warned of consequences. That's on the front page of this particular paper, and quoted is Pastor Paul Mackenzie himself, and I quote, "Mnachopigana nacho hamkijui na kitawaramba, nimewaambia kitawaramba," meaning in English, for those who don't understand Swahili, that you don't know the magnitude of what you are fighting, you will soon face the consequence. End of quote. That's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Only DNA tests will reveal the identity of the victims. Remember, this is according to the Inspector General Koome. Only DNA tests will reveal the identity of victims. And here we have fathers in pain. They are missing sons. And the question is, are these missing sons among the dead in Shakahola? Those and those are the pictures of the missing sons on this front page of the People of the Daily Nation. Also still on the front page on matters concerning the counties, also governors issue a 14-day notice over cash crisis. Governors have given the government 2 weeks to wire 94.35 billion Kenya shillings to counties, failure to which they will shut down operations as the National Treasury fought back accusations of deliberately starving the devolved units of cash. Also, on the front page of the Daily Nation, heartbreak for hustlers as Ruto walks back on NHIF promise. President Ruto yesterday announced that the national government will not match contributions to the National Hospital Insurance Fund for low-income earners. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Of course, also still on this particular page there at the bottom left, where we are talking about Sonko and Kabogo sacked into legal battle over 2.3 billion shillings. Former governors have found themselves in the middle of a very complex legal battle involving a shadowy Singapore registered firm, its directors, and 2.3 billion Kenya shillings that was initially frozen by the High Court last year over money laundering suspicions. And that is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Still, moving on, I have with me a copy of the Star. On the front page of the Star newspaper, how Mackenzie won the hearts of villagers. Put into perspective, followers and residents mingled freely for 3 good years. But this changed at the beginning of their 40-day fast. How Mackenzie won the hearts of villagers, described in this particular paper. Also on the front page, missing sisters linked to Good News Church in Chakahola. Conversations about that. And remember, this is still the particular lady that was trending on social media. Remember the air hostess? Well, that is the one. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. Also there, floods wreak havoc in Mandera and Kisumu, displacing 2,000. And we have picture there of floods. Remember, this is also a very big conversation that is what was taking trend yesterday. And pictured on this particular paper, residents wade through flooded water after heavy rains at Kolua Central in Kisumu County yesterday. And that village is flooded with water reaching up to the waist. Pictured there on the Star newspaper. And finally, I said, I have the People Daily here. The man who preached death from a taxi driver to a cult leader, Paul Mackenzie, a father of 17, has had a conquered personal history, and now 47 bodies have been dug up in his private property in one of Kenya's most macabre sagas. That is on the front page of the People Daily. Also, AU picks Uhuru for Ethiopia peace talks. That's on the front page of the People Daily. Will shut down counties unless state pays up, warns governors. The amount of money that the national government owes counties is coming up to 94.5 billion Kenya shillings. The amount of money that the devolved governments were to get in February is coming up to 31.5 billion Kenya shillings. And what the national government wants to pay in March is coming up to 29.6 billion Kenya shillings. And 407 billion Kenya shillings is what the governors had asked for the next year's budget. And thus are our dailies this morning. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to be part of this conversation. Join us. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya at Ramaguko, which is my handle, at KBC Channel 1, which is the official station handle. Remember, we are live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi, Kenya. Also streaming through our website, www.kbc.co.ke. Inviting my guests now to join in this particular conversation. I am with, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Frank there and Mr. Daniel Mwathi joining me today. And gentlemen, you've seen what is trending. And I've just highlighted the front page only, the front pages only. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Paul Mackenzie story, this massacre, this occult. Let me start with you, Daniel Mwati. What do you think? What do you make about this story?
It's really sad to be in this kind of a situation. Remember, we are talking of over 70 lives. We are not talking of lives of goats, sheep, not even the much cherished elephants, but we are talking of lives of people.
Our mothers,
over 70.
our fathers, children.
Lives of people, over 70, being massacred. I think it's a situation that is a shame even to our country, and it's a wake-up call to all of us as a country, and everybody has a stake to look for a solution so that we don't find ourselves in such a situation again. Remember, we have had several disasters there before, which we have even amplified, but they have not met this kind of deaths. So this is a situation which needs attention from all quarters here in Kenya.
What do you think about this, Frank?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that it's a very sad state of affairs that we have to lose 73 adult citizens in such a manner that they have been killed or died in such circumstances. However, it is a wake-up call to our government, because several issues have been raised over why the government has taken too long to discover such a cult, such activities, why such a man like Mr. Pastor Paul Mackenzie has managed to bury over 40 bodies within his compound and no one realized. It is an eye-opener. It shows that our agencies are asleep. They are just enjoying whatever they are getting, and it is sad. Something needs to be done. Yes.
Now, I'm looking at this particular conversation, and there is a story highlighted in one of our dailies, the Star in particular.
Yes.
And as I was going through this, I realized that actually people started trickling there many years back, and they mingled freely with the villagers of the area. Now, as time went by, the number of people who were trickling in increased. And as of the time when they started fasting, it is reported that they started being hostile to the villagers. Hostility was seen. And there was a time that even a border operator was attacked by one of Mackenzie's followers, where they refused to accept any outsiders into those particular areas where they were fasting. Do you feel like this is actually a loophole? Do you feel like this is an eye-opener that shows us the cracks that are there in our devolved units? Still on you, Frank.
Yes, we have had different religions going to an extreme end, or what is basically known as radicalization.
Yeah.
We've seen we know how the Al-Qaeda came into being. We know what Al-Shabaab does. And now we are experiencing the same with Pastor Paul Mackenzie's followers. That when we go into that extreme end, we sometimes turn into being hostile to even our relatives, our friends, because we realize that they do not subscribe to the same or issues that we also do subscribe to. So that makes or creates a rift between those faithfuls and their relatives. So I think there needs to be a regulation on how these religious activities can be conducted and ensure that the rights of people are safeguarded.
But then, and Dan and Frank, help me here, help me understand.
Yes.
What exactly are we regulating? There was a conversation that I was having yesterday with some colleagues, and we were, and I asked them this question: are we regulating spirituality or religion? What exactly are do we need to regulate here?
If
Dan.
Surely, this situation also is you can look at some various in some of the systems. For example, we have our Nyumba Kumi systems. Don't understand how this number of people or this kind of scenario can happen when we have, if at all, these systems are really strong. So it's a time we also strengthen the systems. In the regulations, I think it's the item that we don't abuse or rather misuse the power of the so-quoted freedom of worship. Freedom of worship does not mean you do anything that you want. So the government should come in and really check, even after maybe these people we have given maybe the licenses to go ahead with their religious activities. It's the high time we make a follow-up of knowing after they are out there, what actually are they doing? Kenya, we are known of being smart as far as intelligence is concerned. So I don't understand how this kind of activity can take this number of years. Remember, this man was in jail, was in court at some time back in 2018. And all through, there should be, maybe have been a follow-up. After the body was given and all this, what is he doing? And this should have been capped maybe in the first months, not even years. So
first months.
The first months should have been known that whatever he is doing is not really right, and we would have saved many lives.
But still, Dan,
yes.
What are we regulating? What needs to be regulated? You mentioned freedom of worship.
Yes.
We have rights to believe in what we want to believe. Everybody can believe in what they want to believe. And that's why conversations about belief systems and what we subscribe to have come to play. Remember, there was a time that people even brought in issues concerning LGBTQ, and it was a conversation in Parliament. I believe I am of this particular orientation. I believe I am of this particular direction. You have no right to infringe into what I believe in. Picking a note of that, taking note of that, if I believe that I need to starve myself to death, what prevents me from doing it? Let's have that conversation. Still, what are you regulating, Frank?
Yes, I think the problem with our country begins with Article 8 of the Constitution, which says that there shall be no state religion. That means there is no specific religion that we all as a nation subscribe to, because we have Christians, we have Islam, we have Hindus, we have recently heard about the Rastafarians who are now saying that marijuana should be legalized because they believe that's their tool of worship, and so on and so forth. So ideally, the state is focused on regulating religion, but they cannot. It's a very thin and thick line to try to regulate spiritualism. the extent to which you can regulate spiritualism depends on how you go about regulating religion.
Do you agree with that?
Partly I do, but we should go further and see how we regulate the activities that we are doing in various institutions that are there, including religion. How do you, once you are free there to do whatever you want to do, whatever you are doing, is it affecting the rights of other people who may be innocent? For example, this kind of situation, we are seeing even innocent children having died as a result of this. So basically what we should regulate is what exactly the activities done after we have licensed, we have given the rights to religion and all that. We should go further and regulate what we are doing or what these particular people are doing. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we let everybody to do whatever he wants, irrespective of the fact that it's affecting others negatively, then we would not be doing the right thing.
Right.
Regulation of what is to be done.
And to further on that, the Constitution has given us freedom of worship, freedom of religion, freedom of association.
Yes.
However, these freedoms are not absolute. They are not cast on stone. They are limited to some extent. In fact, they are limited to the extent where they are affecting another person's right or freedom. So if we want to regulate religion, we must ensure that whichever organization which is registered in terms of religion is subscribed to the regulations put in the Constitution, the framework, and also in terms of now limiting the spiritualism, we have to ensure that those freedoms as persons are enjoying them do not infringe on other persons' rights. In that way, we can be able to perhaps win the situation on whether we want to regulate religion or spiritualism.
But then still, we need to have, of course, a conversation also concerning sensitization. Kenyans getting to know whether they are in a spiritual movement or a church.
That is true. That is true. Because we've had persons who get into churches for the sake of getting into churches.
Yeah.
They don't understand the reason as to why they're getting into those churches. If it is the true worship, let it be the true worship. So sensitization is a key aspect when it comes to enlightening the masses, the citizens, on what is supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be done. And therefore the state has really failed when it comes to that aspect of sensitization, because
how does the government fail in sensitization of belief systems? Surely
the government
Let's talk facts,
the government should come up with a framework which says that this church or this religion is supposed to be registered, and these are the guidelines to be followed by this specific or whichever religion that wishes to come up. These are the guidelines.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I know, Dan, you want to give in your view on that, but allow me to cut us short. Let's take a break, and then we'll be back, because we still have more stories to talk about. This is Good Morning Kenya.
Here to find out about Mr. Oligario's health. But it turns out I find this ridiculous scene, and this jerk is here, pressuring you to marry him.
Hey, watch your words, mister.
Don't let him pressure you, Fabiola.
Yes, speaking.
I need to see you now, please. This is really urgent. Just tell me where we can meet.
Just tell me where you'll be and the directions. I'll meet you there.
Corina, many years ago, before you even came into this world, your mother was married to my son, the real owner of Las Bandidas. Why hasn't your father told you anything about it?
They called you up to offer you a job? Yes. How come? Who is sick, eh?
Just an old friend's husband. You remember Malena?
Corey? What's up? What happened?
Fabi, I know everything. Now I know everything. After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
will your children sleep hungry when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table?
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Kitwek FM Kegosin.
Thank you so much for sticking with us. Still, this is Good Morning Kenya. Asante sana. From wherever you're watching us from, you're just in time for the continuation of this particular live broadcast right here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Ram Maguko, if you've just joined us. And of course, we're taking a look at what is making headlines today on people and politics. I am with, in studio, Dan Mwadhi, governance expert. And to my far right, I am also with Frank Nyamari Onchweri, political analyst. Now, let's take a look at one other story that is making headlines today. Governors are threatening to shut down their counties in the next 14 days if they do not get their demands met. And we are looking at delayed cash transfers from the National Treasury that have left the counties with unpaid salaries and slow development. Frank, what do you make of this?
Yeah, again, it is not a good sign for devolution, because the reason as to why counties came into being was to enable citizens to be able to access services by the government on a grassroots level. So when the governors are saying that they shall shut down, that is not proper, because they should also continue to run the counties based on the revenue that they are collecting from their individual specific governments, county governments. It's not entirely that they depend on the national government for them to be in a position to run their daily activities. However, there are those functions that have been devolved, for example, health, which is devolved, and so many other functions which are devolved. I think those are the only functions that I think might be hit when the national government does not disburse funds as required.
All right.
Therefore, county government should run the rest of the rest of the functions which are within their hands, and allow the national government to also disburse these funds to be able to make them continue with their activities. On the other hand, the national government is also failing, because what are the reasons as to why they have not disbursed even 1% or 2% of the funds? Yet we are seeing them having money, throwing money left and center, buying cars and Porsche vehicles, whereas counties are suffering. So it's a question that needs to be looked at into and given the answers that they deserve.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, let me come over to you, but still, let me give us remind us the numbers that we are looking into here, because the county governors are saying that they, of course, want to give 14-day ultimatum. They have given a 14-day ultimatum to Ruto's administration. The amount of money that the national government owes the counties is coming up to 94.5 billion Kenya shillings. 94.5 billion Kenya shillings. Is it possible to get this money sent to the counties within 2 weeks? Sounds impossible. Sounds impossible. And I believe that the national government has been trying to communicate that, yes, we have no money. Remember Gachagua, the deputy president, mentioned that right now we don't have money and that they inherited a dilapidated economy. Isn't it unfair that the governors are making such kind of a demand to the president? What do you think about that?
Thank you, Lam. I think the essence of devolution is taking services closer to the people. More than 3/4 of the ministries we have here in Kenya are devolved. So most of the ministries which touch the lives of the common mwananchi there at the ground are really devolved, which means the money they are getting from the national government, a bigger percentage of it is going to services which touch the mwananchi. Talk of health, talk of agriculture, talk of water, all those ministries are devolved. And for them to function, we have to have funds in the, to the counties. Remember, we are talking of, the governors are talking of 4 months having not received the disbursement from the national government.
Yeah, they're saying January, for February, 31.45 billion, for March, 29.6 billion, and the 33 billion owed to the counties for April.
So once this money is not dispersed, it means these people cannot function. As we talk right now, there are many counties which have not paid their workers for
all counties,
for quite a number of days. Even those who have tried, they have made some local arrangements, maybe with their local banks and all that, just to ensure that the staff are in place. But they cannot stress so much. They will reach a level that there's a time that will come that these workers cannot go to work. They cannot serve the wananchi. When they cannot reach their places of work, when they cannot they have nothing to put in their stomach.
But shouldn't they give the government time to work and get the funds they need?
To me, Lam, I think 3-4 months is good time. We should be talking of a solution now, not giving excuse. The excuse is we have no money, we have no money, we have no money. The fact that we have no money, these local, the county staff have to work. Doctors have to go to the hospitals, whether there is money or not. So the national government should come up with a solution. I think it's a high time we think outside the box and look at how we are going to share whatever is available. If we are talking of 3 months, I think that is way too much. Maybe if we are talking of delay in if we are talking of them waiting for March or April, that one is a bit understandable. But now if we are talking of since January, and they are operating, there are things which need to be done at the county levels. I think the governors have a point. There is something that needs to be addressed. And when you talk of governance, remember they are not talking about themselves. They are talking of services to the mwananchi. Simply because, as I said there earlier, these ministries which they are holding are the ones which touch the local mwananchi in the greatest way possible. These ministries which are in the national government, which are not devolved, talk of foreign affairs. the local mwananchi will take long before feeling the effect of anything not done in the foreign affairs. But look at agriculture. Look at
you believe those are not as heavy as the county issues?
All ministries are important, but what I'm saying is there should be equitable sharing. What is left in the national government, also at the county level, there should be there should be money. Governors should not be talking of 4 months having not gotten money from the national government. There should be a solution for that.
Okay, what's making me laugh is you're mentioning foreign affairs issues don't affect the people at the grassroots level as it isn't as heavy as it should.
What I'm saying, there is a degree of effect. All ministries are important. That's why they are there in the first place. But the effect, the impact, the level at which the local mwananchi is feeling this. There's somebody in the village who has never traveled out of the country, but he has gone to the local dispensary almost every month. He is at his farm, so he needs agriculture. So what I'm saying is all ministries are important, but let us also understand that is why we came up with the devolution in 2010, so that money can be decentralized, taken down to the people.
Yes, I want to agree with Mr. Mwadi on the fact that all ministries are important and there is a degree of importance or urgency. However, the reason as to why I cling on the fact that counties should not shut is the fact that those are devolved units and it is in the constitution that they should continue running. However, when we look at it from a realistic perspective, we realize that counties collect revenue, they give it 100% to the national government, and then the national government distributes 15% to the counties again. So this 15% is now supposed to be helping the counties. Remember, they raised 100% and gave it to the government, and the government is now giving them back 15%. There should be no excuse as to why the government should be crying that they do not have money.
There is something that happened in Parliament, and particularly at the Senate level.
Yes.
Where the governors raised some dissatisfaction with how the Senate handled their particular matter, in which they voted on the Division of Revenue Bill 2023, rejecting an amendment that would have seen the counties or the devolved units get 407 billion shillings as equitable shares in the financial year 2023-2024. Do you feel like this move by the Senate was the right move? And are the governors acting based on this particular move by Senate?
Senate is tasked with oversight on counties. So they are actually the champions of devolution when it comes to counties. They are supposed to be there championing or advocating for additional revenue to counties to help them run their affairs and be able to benefit the common person. When we see the senators rejecting, perhaps there are reasons, because there has not been accountability from most of the governors when it comes to how that monies that were disbursed to them was spent. There has not been clear accountability on that aspect. So it is here, not there, as to whether the governors are acting, giving the government a 14 days ultimatum to disburse in reiterating on the decision that was made in the Senate. And it is difficult to come out, not unless we go back to that discussion again and be able to see what were the reasons that the senators gave.
The senators gave.
Yes.
And I'm looking at what the Council of Governors chairperson Anne Waiguru mentioned. He said that, and I quote, that we note with concern that the history of devolution, that in the history of devolution, the Senate has voted against the spirit of devolution.
Yes.
By rejecting this amendment to give the counties 407 billion shillings.
Yes.
Someone can interpret that this is a reiteration, a reaction by governors against the senators so that they can be able to get this particular money or amendment done.
Thank you, Lam. I think let's start it here. Senate its core mandate is to look at the functions at the county level.
At the county.
So
oversight.
Senate, the oversight, and also take care of the interests of the counties. So they are the ones who are supposed to be the advocates, or rather look for ways and means of how counties should be better. So when now these are bill and then they act as if they are not protecting. It's like we go with you and I know you are the one who will protect me. Or my friend here, you are my lawyer and we are in court. And then all of a sudden, I hear that you are not, I relied on you to protect me.
And you're no longer
and once we reach there now, we find that you are working against me, or rather you are not protecting me in the best way possible. So I think the chair Council of Governors has a reason to question why the Senate made them not get whatever they wanted, the 407 billion. So it's a genuine observation. It's a genuine call from the Chair Council of Governors. However, I'm sure that this is not the reason as why they are threatening to close down. The single reason why they are threatening to close down is that funds have not been dispersed.
All right. Now, let's still talk about funds then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about money.
Yes.
But now, I want to shift this gear to a different number.
Yeah.
Public service sector unions have rejected the plan by the president to introduce a new levy. And I know you've heard of this particular levy of 3% of the employee's income to be deducted in order for it to fund affordable housing. They have rejected it. Can this move work? Dan?
To me, I think there should have been enough consultation before it coming to the public or before it being implemented. I'm not very sure whether there was enough background background checks to know actually what else. We remember the other day the other deductions from the public service which were done. NSSF no longer 200 but same being deducted in the initial percentage. So there ought to have been some talks maybe with the union, with all other stakeholders, so that even when this thing is brought to the limelight or when it's brought to the implementation, there should have been good consultation with all stakeholders so that everybody would feel consulted. I think it's not right to just bring it.
But then, I'm wondering, Dan and Frank here, the government is trying to find ways of developing the country from the county level. Housing is a very important issue, especially in Kenya, where we have many who are staying in pathetic places in the country. This 3% that the president has mentioned, don't you feel that it is a solution and a way that will open great doors for Kenyans? Because now you complain that, you know what, you need our money but you should have consulted us.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when the government is trying to get money so that there is development, governors are complaining that we will shut down everything if you don't give us money. So, I'm seeing a catch-22 here, but I'll come to that. I'm seeing a catch-22, Frank. Don't you see that?
Everybody wants to live in a good house, and there's no one who will reject a proposal to have his house built to the standards that he or she requires, because everybody wants to live in a good house.
But then why are they rejecting this?
However, when you want to get into my pocket and get money out of my pocket, consultation is key. Otherwise, I'll term you as a thief. It is acceptable when you have a conversation with me and tell me, hey, look here, I want to build you a good house and this is the plan. The president has not done that. The president literally went to a church. He was excited by the crowd who turned up, and he decided to make a promise to them. It might sound a sweet promise.
I don't think that was the case.
However,
he was excited by the crowd, moved by the crowd to make a promise of such magnitude.
We are used to this president who is always making promises that he does not fulfill. I don't want to remind you of the stadiums to be built within 6 months, which are not yet done up to now. So we are used to this president who goes, meets a crowd and makes promises.
But
however,
he says
implementation...
That still, because you've made a point there,
yes.
Still, let me remind you also that President said that back then, when they were focused on development, handshake manenos came in, thereby disrupting their agenda. But proceed.
That is politics.
That is still politics.
That is politics.
Yes.
But when it comes to the point of implementing those decisions, it might take you a while before you actually realize them if there was no proper consultation, involvement of stakeholders and even those who are involved, for them to be able to accept the idea and move forward with it. So it might be very, very difficult. So as Mr. Modi said, there ought to be an organization or a platform in which these parties are brought to the table so that they agree to this proposal, so that when it comes to implementation, it becomes easy. Otherwise, Kenyans are tired of these taxes. There are so many taxes that has seen even the cost of living going high. And what the common person right now wants to hear is that the cost of hunger has gone down, not more taxes. Yes.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. As Wakili has said, everybody in Kenya requires to live in a decent house. No doubt about that. That one we are in agreement. However, in governance, we say this you call stakeholders theory. Stakeholders theory states that anything that you do, just put yourself into the shoes of each and every stakeholder. As the government talks of these 3%, can they put themselves into the shoes of this civil servant who is almost operating in a hand-to-mouth payslip because he has committed this is our money
to different
elsewhere.
Things.
To different, so
cost of electricity, cost of hunger,
and maybe a loan somewhere. So whatever you are left with is only something to just keep you going.
So if
you are happy with that.
So if only you are consulted, it will be better.
After the consultation, maybe they would have readjusted themselves. They would also, and maybe known, this is the time we will implement this. Don't do it now, do it at this particular time. Don't do it this way, but do it in this other way. Through consultation, so that at least each and every stakeholder will feel that is comfortable with whichever decision. What I mean is, we definitely require decent houses. Government requires money. But how we get this money, how this policy is implemented, that is the question.
I feel for our president. I feel for our president. You want to develop an area when you want to implement a certain levy, it's rejected. The county still, they want to down their tools. And we have rains wreaking havoc, floods wreaking havoc in Mandera and Kisumu County, displacing over 2,000 people. Let's conclude with that particular note there. Floods wreaking havoc in there. What's the solution? Our president, Nimona kama sikuiza inamsumbua sana. He's trying to get a solution. Frank?
Yes.
Floods wreaking havoc in Mandera and Kisumu. 2,000 people displaced.
For the 29 years that I have lived in life, it is so unfortunate that floods still have to wreak havoc within some counties. We've had this problem, this is not the first time, and again we've had, now this is the 5th government dealing with the same problem. So this just shows that we are not even a developing country. We are below a developing country when floods hit us, and we are not able to come up with a solution to such a problem. It is high time that we put in structures to ensure that floods do not cause destruction to the people again.
Dan, what do you think about this? And I was even seeing floods here within Nairobi. I was concerned when last week I saw a whole Prado submerged
in water.
And it was at someone's garage. So I wonder what this mechanic will tell the owner.
Thank you, Long. I have a lot of confidence with the current government.
Yes.
And I know they are equal to the task.
Yes, they are.
But let us have short-term plans or short-term goals. For example, we require money for the counties. That's something has to be done fast and in whichever way possible, the best way possible. We should also have middle-term goals and long-term goals. What am I saying? We are complaining of floods, and just the other day we were complaining of drought. This water is sweeping houses, is sweeping cars, it's going to the lakes and the Indian Ocean.
So what do you do
now? It will not be too long before we start now complaining also of drought. So we should have long-term plans of how this water can be harvested.
All right.
We have talked of that several times. Remember Budalangi? They were sweeping people, but still something was done, but still we are hearing this elsewhere. So we should have long-term plans where this water is harvested, conserved, so that it can be used in case of drought.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
ought to be done.
Dan Mwadhi, governance expert. Frank Nyamori, political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. And it is on that note that we bring this conversation to a close. Still, I ask, can we give the government time to work? Anyway, still, topic for another day. Ladies and gentlemen, from my end, it's a wrap. My name is Ram Aguko. It has been a pleasure being with you today on this particular conversation. Now, as we always do it every Tuesday, right here on Good Morning Kenya, we always link up with our radio team who is, which is on the other side on the radio department. Right here today, we have in store for you a conversation concerning the state of Kenyan workers. What you just had here, I believe that one sets precedence to this conversation coming up next with our very own Rashid Mwamkondo from Radio Taifa. This morning, Good Morning Kenya links up with Zinga. And I know he is planning to be joined by Honorable Tomo Dege, who is the Member of Parliament for Nyatike, together with Honorable Kenneth Kazungu, the Member of Parliament of Ganze. I hand you over to our very own Rashid Mwamkondo. Mwamkondo, chukua.
Rashid, kazi kwako. With the Tennessee lawmakers who were expelled.
Morning Kenya, karibu sana mtazamaji. Kumbuka hii ni studio yetu ya redio na imeoana moja kwa moja na studio zetu za TV. Sijui hapa Chief Kadhi ni nani, sijui ni Ram ama ni Mato. Yote 9 mtazamaji, karibu kwenye kitengo chetu cha Gumzo Pevu. Kumbuka mtazamaji, uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya unaendelea kudorora. Kila mmoja hali ilivyo anaishuhudia. Mikakati mbalimbali inafanywa na serikali ya kitaifa, serikali za kaunti na vile vile pia asasi mbalimbali mtazamaji. Mfanyikazi wa Kenya pia anakabiliwa na changamoto chungu nzima mtazamaji. Wengi wanalia, wanasema gharama maisha yamekuwa juu, mifuko imetoboka kiasi cha kwamba mpaka mtu akitia mkono anashika soksi yake upande wa pili mtazamaji. Yote 9, mambo ni mengi, masuala ni mengi yanayoathiri mfanyikazi wa Kenya. Jumatatu wiki ijayo taifa la Kenya litaungana na mataifa mengine ulimwenguni kuweza kuadhimisha sikukuu ya Labor Day. Yote 9 mtazamaji, ndani ya studio ninao viongozi ambao ni wabunge. Tutakuwa tukijadili nafasi ya mfanyikazi katika taifa letu la Kenya bila kupoteza nukta, sekunde wala dakika. Upande wangu wa kushoto niko naye Mheshimiwa Tom Odege, mbunge wa Nyatike, aliyepia katibu mkuu wa chama cha wafanyikazi wa umma, yani Union of Kenya Civil Servants. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana ndani ya studio zetu.
Asante sana ndugu yangu.
How are you this morning?
Niko salama kabisa.
Uko salama?
Kabisa.
Naona ulipotea ukaenda studio nyingine.
Unajua hii KBC TV tunajua mali moja tu.
Ndio. KBC ni kubwa, kuna paka huko unakusikiaje?
Ni kubwa lakini natakana ujiinue kidogo.
Ndio. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Tom Odege asubuhi leo. Na vile vile pia niko naye Mheshimiwa Kenneth Kazungu, mbunge wa Ganze kutoka kaunti ya Kilifi, ambaye pia si mgeni hapa katika studio zetu. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Asante sana.
Na Mheshimiwa mshari sana kwenye mitandao ya kijamii kuhusiana na mambo ya Sanali na Manchester. Sijui ushauri uliotoa.
Mimi ni shabiki mkubwa wa mpira, especially ile ligi ya Ulaya.
Ndio.
Na mimi ni shabiki wa Arsenal.
Ala.
Kabisa.
Wanakuona kwa mbali. Mtazamaji, karibu sana na zaidi ya yote wakati wote pia kuanzia sasa tutakuwa tunakwenda moja kwa moja ambapo hii leo waziri wa habari na teknolojia Bwana Edwin Owalo atakuwa na kikao cha stiftahi, yani breakfast na klabu ya Gor Mahia. Ametokezea kuwa waziri shabiki mkubwa wa klabu hii ambayo kwa sasa inaongoza ligi kuu nchini Kenya. Mheshimiwa Kazungu anasema yeye mambo ya ligi ya Kenya atamwachia Mheshimiwa Tom Odege na waziri, yeye atakwenda kule APL. Lakini kabla tusonge mbele, jana Rais Daktari Samoei William Ruto akihudhuria hafla ya wale maafisa wa gereza kufuzu, katika hotuba yake yote lakini aliweza kuzungumzia kuhusiana na swala ambalo linaendelea katika msitu kule kwenu Kilifi Mheshimiwa, ambapo kuna yule bwana ambaye yajiita ni mhubiri, lakini wengi wanasema asiitwe mhubiri, aitwe vile vile pia Paul Mackenzie, ambapo hadi kufikia sasa watu zaidi ya 73 wamepatikana wamefariki. Inakisiwa kwa idadi hiyo huenda ikaongezeka. Labda kabla kuangazia hali ya wafanyikazi humu nchini, una jambo la kusema kuhusu hali ilivyo Shakahola Kilifi? Maana watoka kule Mheshimiwa.
Kwanza nataka ni kashifu yale mambo ambayo yametendeka kule Shakahola. Kusema kweli ni mambo ya kushangaza na ni mambo ya kuhuzunisha sana. Kusema kweli yale yamefanyika kule ni ujambazi wa hali ya juu. Yale si mambo ya dini. Na naomba niweze kuambia wananchi kuwa japokuwa dini ni muhimu, lakini pia lazima tuangalie yale mafundisho ambayo hawa wanajiita wachungaji wanatupatia. Na pia serikali iwe macho zaidi na haya makanisa, kwa sababu mara nyingi sana tunaona makanisa yanaanzishwa lakini hayafuatilii na serikali. Yale mafundisho ambayo yanapewa wananchi kule mashinani, serikali haifuatilii. Na ndio maana watu kama kina Paul Mackenzie wamepata nafasi na wakaweza kuingiza itikadi kali kwa wafuasi wao, to the extent paka saizi watu wako tayari kufunga hadi kufa, kwa sababu wana imani kwa wakifunga hadi kufa ndio wataenda kwa Yesu. Na unashangaa wale wanafunga hadi kufa hakuna hata mmoja katika familia ya Paul Mackenzie ambaye amefunga yeye hadi kufa. So unashindwa, kwani watu wa Paul Mackenzie hawataki kwenda kumuona Yesu? Ni wale wafuasi wale wa chini kabisa ndio wana imani ya kwenda kumuona Yesu. Kwa hivyo hizi ni itikadi ambazo ni lazima sisi kama viongozi tuweze kuzikemea. Na pia sasa imefika wakati nafikiri bunge liweze kutunga sheria ambayo itaanza kuregulate mambo ya hizi makanisa.
Lakini kabla kurudi kwake Mheshimiwa Odege, na Mheshimiwa nikirudi kwako sijali na Kiswahili chetu, you can converse hata English kwa sababu kipindi Good Morning Kenya ni cha English. Nikirudi kwako Mheshimiwa, viongozi wa Kilifi, hili swala halikuanza leo, muda wote huu mmekuwa wapi?
Kusema kweli hili swala halikuanza leo. Na viongozi wa Kilifi waliona ile mienendo ya Paul Mackenzie kitambo. Nakumbuka mwaka wa 2017 Mheshimiwa Aisha Jumwa aliweza kuteta vikali kwa sababu wakati huo Paul Mackenzie alikuwa na kanisa pale Migingo Malindi. Na nafikiri baada ya Mheshimiwa Aisha Jumwa kupiga hii kelele yote, ilibidi Paul Mackenzie akafunga hiyo kanisa Malindi, ndo akanunua hiyo shamba huko Shakahola. Na Shakahola si karibu sana na Malindi, takriban karibu kilomita 200 kutoka Malindi town. Na kule ni msituni, watu wanaishi kule ni watu kidogo sana. Sasa alipoenda kule msituni ilikuwa vigumu kidogo watu kufuatilia ile mienendo yake. Na ndio maana sasa tumefika pale tumefika saa hizi. Yeah.
Wacha tupate kauli yake Mheshimiwa Tom Odege, mbunge wa Nyatike, kuhusiana na swala hili.
Kwanza kabisa wacha nimwambie ndugu yangu Kazungu pole kwa hii janga imekuta watu wa Kilifi. Lakini mimi kama Mkenya nimeshikwa na msangao mkubwa sana. Ukiangalia jambo kama hili inafanyika katika nchi yetu, mahali tuko na serikali, tuko na polisi, tuko na raia, tuko na village elders, tuko na machiefs, tuko na assistant chiefs. Ikifika mahali sasa hatuwezi pata jambo ama report kuhusu jambo kama hii mpaka ifikie mahali tumepoteza karibu watu 200. Kuna itilafu kubwa katika serikali. Kubwa kabisa. Sasa kila mtu yule anaishi katika hii nchi inatakana tujue ya kwamba tuko on our own. Hii kitu inaitwa serikali na network ya serikali kwa hii nchi yetu hakuna. Kwa sababu hii watu ukiona vile watu wamekufa vile wanapatikana, hii si kitu ilifanyika zamani, kwa sababu ukiona mwili hao watu hata Ijarot watu bado wanapatikana. Watu 73 ipoteze maisha katika nchi na ichukue muda mpaka saa hii bila kujulikana. Kuna tabu kubwa katika nchi yetu. Na Wakenya lazima waangalie hii kitu kwa manani kabisa. Kwa sababu mimi na wewe na yule Mkenya mwingine huko, we are not safe. In fact, hii kitu si jambo la Mahindi Kilifi peke yake. Hii pengine inafanyika katika kona nyingine ya Kenya na bado hatujagundua. Tuko katika hali hatari. Na hata hiyo statement ya rais niliona jana, amefanya mzuri kuongea, lakini tunataka action. Kwa sababu huyu si mtu mmoja peke yake anafanya hii jambo. Kuna hii makati katika nchi yetu nzima. Na tutakuja gundua kama Wakenya wengi sana wamekufa. Na hii jambo tutaki tuone kama inaendelea. Kama dini ndio tabu, wacha tuone dini gani iko katika njia ile inatakikana. Lakini kama hii watu wajifiche kwa maombi na Wakenya wanapoteza maisha, hatuwezi kubali kama nchi.
Mheshimiwa, sitaki kutumia Kiswahili cha ndani kutatiza, lakini a similar incident like this happened sometimes back kule Nyanza. Unakumbuka?
I know.
It's like you guys are sharing something.
I know. In fact, what's coming out very clearly, there is a disconnect. A very big disconnect between raia na serikali. Yeah. Unajua kama hii mambo ya mji 10 inatakikana hata kila siku. Mambo ikitokeza katika jamii inajulikana na serikali. Lakini hii mahali tunapoteza watu 200 na serikali wajui, kuna tabu wale.
Iko shida.
Hapana.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, tulikuwa tunapigia tu ngazi kidogo swala hili ambalo limetokea kule Kilifi, lakini ni swala kubwa ambalo unataraji pia labda bunge huenda likalijadili kwa kina. Tuingie moja kwa moja kwenye mada yetu ya siku, ambapo ni uchumi na wafanyikazi. Labda tu nikianza na Mheshimiwa Kazungu kutoka kule maeneo ya Ganze. Tangu tujipatie uhuru hadi kufikia sasa, wewe kama kiongozi, wewe kama Mkenya, hali ya uchumi ya mfanyikazi yule wa chini unaiona vipi? Tuko vipi?
Kusema kweli hali ya uchumi ya mfanyikazi yule wa chini kabisa bado iko vibaya. Sasa hii gharama ya maisha imepanda sana. Hilo halina mjadala. Kila mtu anaona vile bei ya unga imepanda, bei ya mafuta imepanda, bei ya kila kitu imepanda. Lakini mshahara wa mfanyikazi wa chini bado uko pale pale. Kwa hivyo gharama inapanda, lakini mshahara umebaki pale pale. Kwa hivyo kukidhi mahitaji ya wafanyikazi imekuwa vigumu sana wakati huu. Na imefika wakati hata kama uchumi uko vibaya, lakini lazima tuangalie kama serikali huyu mfanyikazi wa chini tutaweza kumwokoa namna gani ili naye aweze kujimudu kimaisha. Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, nikirudi kwako Bwana Tom Odege, nyinyi ni wabunge na mbali na kuwa ni wabunge, wewe ni katibu wa muungano wa wafanyikazi wa umma. Je, ili swala kule bungeni mnalishughulikia vipi? Kwa sababu nyinyi ni representatives wa wale watu.
Ukiangalia hii serikali yetu, ningependa niseme hawaja prioritize mfanyikazi. Hata ukiangalia hii wimbo ya uchumi, watu wanafanya kazi ndi uchumi kuje juu, hawajajua wale watu wanafanyia hii kazi ndi uchumi kuje juu ni wafanyakazi. Na kama wafanyakazi hawana furaha, kuna siku utapata hii uchumi itakuja juu. Kwa sababu ya nini nifanye kazi fedha ipatikane na mimi hakuna changu? Bado utazidi unaona watu wanaenda tu hivi hivi, kwa sababu kuweka ugali kwa mesa kwa mfanyakazi saa hii sana mfanyakazi ya umma, wacha nikuambie ni ngumu. Na ukiona wafanyakazi ya umma wanaumia, wale wanafanya kazi katika private wanaumia zaidi, kwa sababu hao watu huwa wanaiga mfano ya wale kile kinafanyika katika serikali. Sasa hii ukiona wafanyakazi wa umma ndio wanalia, ujue ya kwamba kuna mfanyakazi katika hii nchi akona furaha. Na nataka serikali wajue kama wafanyakazi hawana furaha, hii dream ya kuinua uchumi haitapatikana, kwa sababu wakina nani wanainua uchumi? Ni wafanyakazi. Hata ukiimba mara 10 watu wafanye kwa bidii, hakuna mtu anafanya kwa bidii na tumbo tupu. Lazima watu wale ndio wawe na nguvu ya kufanya kazi. Kama kuna chakula, tusahau, hakuna mtu utaenda kwa shamba kama wewe hata nguvu yenyewe una, kwa sababu hujakula. Utaenda ulime na nguvu ya kutoa wapi? Ni ngumu. So ile kama kuna watu nimesikia, kuna David Ndii economist wana advise rais njia fupi ya kuboresha uchumi ya nchi, waone ya kwamba wafanyakazi wa umma na wafanyakazi wote katika nchi wako na pesa ya kutosha kuwalinda, ndio waende wafanye kazi. Lakini kama hakuna kitu, hii miaka 5 itaisha kama tunaimba tu, kuna kitu itafanyika.
Bila shaka mambo ndo kama hayo. Nyinyi nyote ni waheshimiwa, ni wabunge. Miongoni mwa majukumu ambao mmepatiwa kule ni kuwakilisha watu. Juzi mmekuwa victim sawa na sisi wafanyikazi wa umma, mishahara yetu ilichelewa. For the first time since independence. KRA tunajua wanaokusanya mapato na yako thabiti, in fact hata yameongezeka. Tatizo liko wapi mheshimiwa? Paka imfikia wakati wafanyikazi mishahara inachelewa?
Kama vile mheshimiwa rais na mheshimiwa makamu wake walisema, walipochukua hatamu za uongozi katika nchi, walipata hakuna pesa zimeisha. Na pia walipata madeni makubwa. Sasa ni kweli KRA inafanya kazi na ina collect pesa nyingi, lakini pia yale madeni ambayo yanatakana kulipwa kwa wakati huu pia ni makubwa. Na unajua zile consequences ambazo nchi hupata wakikosa kulipa deni, especially madeni kutoka nchi za kigeni. Kwa hivyo ni kweli uchumi saizi bado uko vibaya, na mishahara ni kama ambaye ilichelewa kwa sababu pesa nyingi zilienda upande wa kulipa madeni haya ya nchi za kigeni. Kwa hivyo kama vile serikali inasema, mheshimiwa rais, tuendelee kujikaza, tuendelee kulipa ushuru, tuendelee kulipa ushuru, kwa sababu ni ushuru ndio unafanya mishahara inalipwa. Ushuru usipolipwa, mishahara haiwezi kulipika wakati unaofaa. Kwa hivyo ni wakati mgumu sahi, lakini nchi imejipata katika hili shimo, na ni lazima tuje na mikakati ya kufanya nini, ya kujitoa sisi kama nchi kutoka katika hili shimo la madeni ambayo tuliingia kwa ile serikali ambayo ilipita.
Hapo namuona mheshimiwa Tom Odege hapa maini anamkeketa, nataka kuzungumzia hapo, lakini mwelekezi wangu Martin Jero ananiambia tuelekee moja kwa moja katika kikao cha Stiftai asubuhi ya leo, ambapo waziri ambaye yuko chini ya himaya ya shirika la utangazaji nchini, ambaye pia ni shabiki shakiki wa klabu ya Gor Mahia, asubuhi ya leo anazungumza pale. Wacha tusikize maili matatu alafu turudi hapa.
So I want to encourage the players that you are capable of winning this league or reclaiming the league title. Do us proud for a start. Do us proud do us proud by reclaiming the league title. And then from there, let's see how far we can go in the continental championships. I also want to encourage the executive committee to do everything possible within its means to try and keep the team together. We have always had good, talented players, but year in, year out, we lose some players and then bring in new players. And that breaks the rhythm and consistency in the team. So from where I sit as a fan, I want to appeal to you and the players as well that let us stick together moving into the new season so that we see how far we can go as a team. I will, as a fan again, do the much I can to assist this club. Of course, working together with friends and other fans of the club. I'm aware that you have been facing certain challenges, and I believe those challenges are not insurmountable. They are challenges that can be addressed. You have got a sponsor. I'm told that the sponsor is not adequate as we approach the Continental Championship. Again, we'll reach out to certain friends elsewhere, perhaps in the private sector, to see if we can get an additional sponsorship for the club for purposes of the Champions League if you win the Kenya Premier League, to augment the efforts, the laudable efforts of Sports Pesa. The chairman has talked about a bus. It is a great concern. In fact, over the past 5 years, I've gotten a lot of appeals from fans of the club that we come in as supporters of the club to help the club get a bus. I want to assure you, I want to state without fear of contradiction that we will indeed get a bus for this club in the not too distant future. I'm also aware that you are lagging behind in players' bonuses for the players and the technical bench. I want to respond to the appeal I received from the club by supporting, to some extent, defrayal of whatever outstanding players' bonuses exist at this point in time. And in that regard, I will this morning, on behalf of the executive committee, settle players, the team's bonuses, match-winning bonuses for 5 games. So if it is 145 per game, for 5 games, that is 725,000. I'll give that to the captain. There's a very important segment of this team again, which more often than not goes unrecognized. The security team, led by, is it Lawi? Yes, I'll also give the security team 75,000. So I'll give you a total of 800,000 this morning. Yeah? So where's the captain? Okay, so okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is 800,000. You take 725 for the players and technical bench. So 25,000 for a technical team and 735,000 for the players and technical bench. A total of 800,000. Thank you. So that is my message for you today, and I think we will discuss as we move on. Please recreate the list that you have stated many times before. I want to repeat that the only way to revitalize Kenyan soccer is by revitalizing or reincorporating the community class. Yeah? So I want to appeal to institutional organizations.
I came here to find out about Mr. Oligario's health. But it turns out I find this ridiculous scene and this jerk is here, pressuring you to marry him.
Hey, watch your words, mister.
Don't let him pressure you, Fabiola.
Yes, speaking.
I need to see you now. Please, this is really urgent. Just tell me where we can meet.
Just tell me where you'll be and the directions. I'll meet you.
Corina, many years ago, before you even came into this world, your mother was married to my son, the real owner of Las Bandidas. Why hasn't your father told you anything about it?
They called you up to offer you a job.
Yes.
How come? Who is sick, eh?
Just an old friend's husband. You remember Malena?
Corey? What's up? What happened?
Fabi, I know everything. Now I know everything.
Buda, tuko na mgala wako hapa.
Who the hell are you?
Tunataka kupiga exchange. Kwa hiyo prisoner mko naye hapo na wewe mgala.
Prisoner mgani unaongea kuhusu nini?
Lola.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa. Ni uchungu sijui imetoka wapi.
Lola. Uko sawa je, unapiga nduru? Nini mbaya?
Unapa knozari. Twende Zari. Zari. Unapa knozari.
مياد أوغاتي عدة شيء الكيغا.
نعم.
وحربا إني قذان.
زاري.
وحربا إني وادا إنتان.
KBC Channel 1 baada ya Waziri Ewalo kuweza kuzungumza katika kikao cha dhifa ya asubuhi na usimamizi wa klabu ya Gor Mahia. Kwa hiyo mtazamaji, kumbuka hashtag ni Zinga, hashtag ni Good Morning Kenya na hashtag msikilizaji KBC ni yetu. Upande wa pili wa runinga unatutizama na vile vile upande mwingine wa redio unatusikiliza. Mwenzangu upande wa pili ni Dora Manya. Studioni niko nao waheshimiwa mbunge wa Nyatike Tom Odegi ambaye anajaribu kweli kwa Kiswahili. Anajaribu hata sikutarajia kabisa mtazamaji. Sasa tuingie kwenye hili swala ambalo mheshimiwa liligusia la rais juzi alisema pendekezo kwamba wafanyikazi wa umma angalau katika salary zao wakuwe deducted 3% ishughulikie masuala ya housing. Sijui kama katibu wa muungano wa wafanyikazi wa umma mlishauriwa ama ni rais tu aliamka akasema hivi?
Sitaki kulaumu rais, lakini ningependa niseme ya kwamba wale advisors ako nayo au bado wajejua vile wanaweza kumuongoza rais mzuri sana. Kwa sababu hakuna mtu katika nchi ya Kenya akona ruhusa ya kugusa msara ya mfanyakazi ya umma kabla hujawaongelesha, kabla wajakubaliana na wewe. Na nilikuwa na expect kabla haja make hiyo pronouncement ungefanya njia, ungetafuta njia ya kuengage na wafanyakazi ndio ijulikane ya kwamba hii percentage 3 wanataka kuchukua, itasaidia huyu mfanyakazi aje.
Ndio.
Kwa sababu mfanyakazi hawezi lipa pesa ijenge nyumba kama kuna yake hapo ndani. So hiyo ndio ingekuwa discussion watu waanze nayo mpaka tukubaliane hii itasaidia wafanyakazi kivipi. Lakini kutangaza vile ametangaza, umeona sasa watu wameanza kuresist kwa sababu imekuja kwa njia mbaya. Lakini kama angeanza kwa njia ile inafaa, akuje waongeleze representative ya wafanyakazi, pia waende waongee na wafanyakazi na wafanyakazi wakubaliane na wajue katika hii scheme ya housing kila mfanyikazi yule anakuwa deducted 3% ata benefit kivipi. Hakuna mtu angekata ama kama tungekataa kwa njia ingine mzuri, si njia ya sasa ni kama watu wanapigana. So wale advisors wa rais wali misadvise yeye kwa hiyo njia. Msara ya mfanyikazi kabla hujaongea juu yake, kuja uongee na huyo mfanyikazi, umweleze hii jambo tuko nayo itakufaidi namna gani, wewe utabenefit nini na nini ndani. Lakini kama kuna umekuja umetangaza kwa rally, what do you expect? Wale wanaongoza wafanyakazi lazima wakatai. Na wakikataa sasa kurudi kwa wafanyakazi waambiwe hii kitu ni mzuri, itachukua muda. Lakini kama ingekuja kwa njia watu waongee kwanza, ndio hiyo habari iende kwa wafanyakazi wawe prepared, ingekuwa mzuri. Lakini hii sasa njia ameanza nayo hii ndio njia mbaya, na sasa sisi kama wale wanaongoza wafanyakazi hatuwezi kubali.
Okay. Niliona jana mtazamaji, vyama vya NAT, UASU na KMPDU vikiteta vikali. Nirudi kwako Mheshimiwa Tungule. Labda tufafanulie kwa yule anayetutizama kwa sasa na yule ambaye anatusikiliza sasa kupitia redio. Je, haya masuala ya mfanyikazi kuweza kukatwa haya, ni nyinyi wa bunge mnafaa kupitisha sheria ama ni executive inaweza tu ikaamka ikasema ni hivi?
Executive haiwezi kulala tu na ikaamka ikasema wacha tukate mishahara. Ni lazima haya maneno yote ya kuje bunge. Executive watapropose, lakini lazima ili swala likuje bunge, liweze kukaliwa. Kuna kamati pale bunge ambayo inahusika na masuala kama haya, waweze kukalia kuja ripoti bunge, halafu sasa hapo ndio bunge litamua ina plenary. Kwa hivyo as it is right now, ili swala ya 3% bado ni proposal ambayo ni lazima ifike huko bunge ndio iweze kukataliwa ama iweze kupitishwa.
Lakini kweli litakataliwa, mko wengi.
Lakini maybe tu vile mwenzangu amesema hapa, nafikiri serikali imekuwa na haraka sana ya kutangaza haya mambo. Kwanza wangekuwa wameconsult wale wahusika wote mpaka wakafikia mwafaka fulani, halafu ndio sasa wakaenda public about the proposal. Kusema kweli, kulingana vile nimesikia rais akiongea na pia nimeongea na wahusika kadha, hii proposal sio mbaya kwa sababu itafanya Wakenya wengi waweze kupata nyumba kwa bei rahisi. Lakini information vile inavyoenda kule mashinani huwa ni muhimu sana, kwa sababu kitu kizuri kinaweza kuwa kibaya kama information haikwenda ikiwa sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo hapo ndio nafikiri kulikuwa na makosa kidogo. Lakini nafikiri serikali ikirudi chini, ikitafuta stakeholders wote wahusika, wakae na wakubaliane na waelezee wananchi ule umuhimu wa kuwa na fund kama hii. Sidhani kama wananchi wanaweza kukataa, kwa sababu ukiangalia Wakenya wengi sio Wakenya wengi wako na nyumba na hii kulingana vile inaelezwa ni kama ambaye itawafanya wale wafanyikazi ambao wako na mshahara kupata nyumba kwa bei rahisi. Kwa hivyo it's a good proposal, it's a good idea, lakini the way it has been brought forward, I think that's where the problem is.
Na naona pia ni mfumo ambao unatumika katika mataifa ambayo yameendelea makubwa kama vile Amerika. Sisi kweli tutaweza kuumudu mfumo huu? Alafu pia mheshimiwa, mimi ni mfanyikazi wa umma, nina nyumba yangu 1 ama 2 ama 3 hata nishajenga. Alafu niambie bado unikate 1% mshahara wangu niwe na nyumba. Sasa does it even make sense?
Hakuna ubaya wote ukiwa na nyumba hata 10.
Acha tuna watoto 10 kama unasema
kuwa na nyumba nyingi, kwa sababu hizi ni investment. Na vile mimi ninaambiwa ama vile mimi nasikia kuhusu hii proposal, ikuwa it's like a saving, because at the end of the day, kama hutaki nyumba wakati ule una retire, kama hutaki kununua nyumba, ile pesa yako unaregeshewa kama savings sana. Kwa hivyo hii pia inaweza kusaidia maisha yako ya baadaye kama wakati ule umeretana una nguvu tena. Yeah.
Alright, mambo ndo kama hayo mtazamaji, mahali popote unapoendelea kutazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi ni Zinga kupitia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya, ambapo nitakuwa naenda kwa mwenzangu Dora Manya tushike simu moja ama mbili, na kumbuka pia kipindi hiki kinakujia moja kwa moja kupitia runinga ya KBC Channel 1 kwenye mchakato mzima wa kipindi Good Morning Kenya, na ndani ya studio niko naye mheshimiwa Kenneth Kazungu kutoka Ganze, na vile vile pia niko naye mheshimiwa Tom Odege, mbunge wa Nyatike, aliyepia katibu mkuu wa chama cha wafanyikazi wa umma. Tukisonga mbele, mmesema kwamba lazima consultations ziwepo za vyama mbalimbali. Unajua wengi wanauliza mheshimiwa Odege na mheshimiwa Kazungu, sauti ya chama kikubwa ambacho kinawakilisha wafanyikazi KOTU hadi kufikia sasa iko wapi? Ama washatiwa mfukoni?
Chama siwezi kusema kimewekwa mfukoni. Lakini maybe swala hilo hapa naweza kanijibu. Maana yeye yuko katika union. Kwa hiyo sitaki kuongea maneno ya KOTU kama watu wa union wako.
Ama wamuogopa Atwoli.
Atwoli jirani yangu kule Kilifi. Na ni rafiki yangu, siwezi kumuogopa. Lakini siwezi kusema amekuwa consulted ama hajakuwa, kwa sababu hajakuja public kusema kuwa hajakuja public kupinga ama kuunga mkono. Kwa hivyo nafikiri hilo tulinyamazia kwanza mpaka pale Atwoli atatoa sauti yake.
Lakini umesema tupige pasi kwa union. Haya bwana, union
ukisasikia sisi kama viongozi wa wafanyakazi tumesaongea, usilaumu Atwoli cause KOTU ni umbrella na sisi ndio wale wa kuvaa viatu na tumesaongea, na sisi ndio tunasimamia wafanyakazi. Sasa yeye pia ako ndani, so usimlaumu. Pengine bado ako na time, bado ataongea, atakuja aongee generally baada ya watu wengine kuongea. Lakini kwa hii jambo mimi najua every leader in the labor movement will speak about it. Will speak about it. Kitu ile tunakataa kabisa, mtu akuja aguse msara ya mfanyakazi bila negotiations. Hii hatuwezi kubali. Ya tukinegotiate tuko na ruhusa ya kukuambia hii ni ugumu iko hii na hii, lakini ukifanya hivi tutakubali. Kwa sababu kama saa hii priority mfanyakazi si nyumba.
Kweli.
Priority mfanyakazi saa hii ni how they can put food on the table. Kwa sababu msara ile tu wako nayo saa hii, hata ukipatiwa uanze kugaramia nayo ni siku 10 tu. Sasa bado wako na kutafuta njia na mbinu ya kusurvive for another 20 days. Because mtu yule ana 20,000, wacha nikwambie tu kweli. 20,000 ukipatiwa kwako nyumbani ugaramie chakula, utafika 15th.
Kweli.
Na hujalipa nyumba, hiyo ni chakula peke yake. Sasa vile huyu atalipa chakula, atalipa nyumba na garamie transport ya kwenda kazi, ni Mungu tu ndiye anajua.
Au sio?
Mwajiri ajui, ni Mungu tu anajua. Sasa ukimwambia huyu mtu tunataka ununue nyumba na chakula yenyewe chakula yenyewe is not swar of, na umwambie nyumba is not a priority. Sasa priority hapa sasa ni maisha, bed and but peke yake, hakuna kitu kingine.
Lakini mheshimiwa umesema bed tunaitumia vibaya. Sasa wewe unazaa watoto wengi.
Watoto ni wewe wacha nikuulize, are you a Christian?
No, I'm a Muslim.
You're a Muslim. Oh, but hata Muslim mibaraka ya Mungu ni nini?
Watoto.
Ni watoto. Ni watoto. Hiyo ndio mibaraka ya Mungu.
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa. Mheshimiwa Kazungu, mshahara wangu ulipochelewa nilikupigia simu na hukushika. Hiyo tutamalizana baadaye. Lakini tukirudi, awali tuliweza kuzungumzia kuhusiana na mishahara kuchelewa. Na tunasikia kwamba huenda mishahara ikalipwa into phases. Wewe kama kiongozi, swala hili unalichukuliaje?
Mishahara kulipwa into phases, hilo ni jambo mimi kama kiongozi siwezi liunga mkono ama tulikubali. Nafikiri serikali tu ijizatiti ihakikishe kuwa ina prioritize mambo ya mishahara ya wafanyikazi, kwa sababu kila mtu ana haki ya kulipwa kama amefanya kazi.
Kweli.
So ukisema nitalipa mwezi huu nitalipa hawa, halafu mwezi mwingine ndio nitalipa watu wengine, hiyo itakuwa tunazidi kujiingiza katika shida ambayo itakuwa vigumu sisi kujitoa hapo mbeleni. Kwa hivyo naomba tu serikali iweze kupea kipaumbele mishahara ya wafanyikazi, kwa sababu kama tunataka tunataka tuweze kukusanya ushuru zaidi, ni lazima wale ambao wanafanya hiyo kazi waweze kuwa motivated, na kumotivate wafanyikazi ni mshahara ukuje on time, ili ndio atapata nafasi ya kufanya ile kazi ambayo ambaye wafanye. Lakini akikosa mshahara, hata ushuru pia utafanya nini? Utakuja chini. Na ukikuja chini tunazidi kuumia ni nchi yetu kama. Kwa hivyo hapo mimi siwezi kubaliana nayo mambo ya kufezi mishahara. Hilo serikali wasawa, hata sisi tuko ndani ya serikali, lakini ikifika hapo nafikiri tutabeba mabango tuanze kuandamana pia sisi.
Sasa Mheshimiwa Kazungu, hali hii itaimarishwa vipi?
Hali ya uchumi kuimarishwa, nafikiri mikakati ipo. Nafikiri ukiangalia manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza walikuwa mikakati mizuri sana, ile the bottom up models, kusema kwa wata empower watu wa chini ili waweze kuzalisha, na wakizalisha kazi zitapatikana na uchumi utaimarika. Let them stick to that plan. Lakini saizi vile tumeingia kwa serikali, halafu sasa tuanze ku deviate from what we promised the people, nafikiri hapo tutakuwa tunakosea wananchi. Kwa hivyo hii Kenya si maskini. Kenya ina utajiri mwingi sana, unaona. Lakini sasa ni vile tutahani su utajiri uweze kusaidia wananchi wa kawaida. Kwa hivyo hiyo bottom up model vile walikuwa wakieleza wakati wa kampeni, nafikiri tukifuata hivyo tutaweza kuimarisha uchumi, na pia tuweze kupunguza matumizi katika serikali, expenses, kwa sababu expenses zikiwa nyingi then tunakosa pesa ya kulipa wafanyikazi. Na pia mambo ya ufisadi tuyaangalie kwa kina, kwa sababu corruption ni kitu ambayo pia imechukua pesa nyingi sana serikali kuenda katika mikono ambayo haistahili. Kwa hivyo hiyo mikakati yote ikiweza kuwekwa sawa, nafikiri pesa itapatikana na hakutakuwa na issues za kuchelewesha mishahara ya wafanyikazi.
Alright, sasa waheshimiwa rafiki zangu, naomba muvae hivi vidubwasha. Tunataka kuchukua simu 2-3 kutoka upande wa pili wa studio. Unajua siku hizi kila kitu ni mambo digitali. Unaona, tunafanya hiki kipindi mara 3. Hii ni studio ya kwanza, kuna studio ya pili na kuna studio ya 3. Mimi naambia KBC tuko juu. Haya, turudi kule kwa mwenzetu Dora Manya, tushike simu 2-3 alafu nirudi kwa swala la pension. Dora, endapo unanipata upande wa pili wa studio, waheshimiwa wanakusikiliza na wanawasikiliza msikilizaji. Twende kazi.
Shukran Rashid, swali langu la 3% wamejibu vizuri. Tusikie wasikilizaji wanasema vipi. Radio Taifa.
Halo KBC, salamu alaykum Dora.
Alaykum salam.
Sasa mimi Mohamed Dawahu, mimi niko pale kwa yale walionena kulingana na kuchambua serikali bana. Hili jina la serikali ni siri iliyokali, lakini hapa mimi nimekubaliana hakuna serikali. Ile siri ya kali hakuna, ni siri baridi. Manake msamahani wasikilizaji, huu upepo ukatoka, unaona, usikika huu upepo wa mwanadamu ukitoka, itakuja mtu mmoja kufa asijulikane na serikali mpaka mmoja mpaka mahalaiki namna hiyo. Siri hii kali iko wapi?
Asante.
Shukran zaidi. Radio Taifa.
Yombo mtoto wa Kiafrika.
Yes. Hello. Samahani na kupoteza. Radio Taifa.
Doramanya.
Yes.
Ujambo, ni Michael kama kutoka Witi. Sasa.
Yes.
Mimi huongea kitu ambapo nasikia katika KBC. Sasa nitaka kuuliza heshimiwa, mishahara ambapo inalipwa na wanalipwa wafanyikazi ni ule ushuru unatoka katika umekusanywa kutoka kwa sisi wananchi. Na serikali ambapo ilikuwa ikiingia tulisikia ilikuwa bilioni 15 imetolewa imeenda. Sasa huu ushuru ambapo ulikuwa umetoweka na jia hiyo, sisi mishahara mpaka ikome kidogo. Tena anataka kuuliza asili vizuri tukose fedha ndio tulipa wananchi, ama tuendelee kuchukua mishahara yetu ama ushuru wetu tujilipe ama tujisimamie.
Asante sana, tumalize na mmoja hapa. Radio Taifa.
Halo bwana Rashid Mkondo. Nazungumza na Alex kutoka.
Karibu sana Alex.
Ya, kwa kweli ningependa kuwauliza wataalamu.
Hello? Uliza, tunakusikiza.
Ningependa kuwauliza wataalamu kwa kweli wanapaswa kuwa na mikakati inayofaa, wajue kwa nini nao watu wamegandamizwa.
Okay, asante. Ukiniruhusu ya mwisho Rashid hapo.
Naam, chukua simu.
Radio Taifa.
Hello.
Yes.
Dora, mtoto Kiafrika ujambo?
Yes, salama. Ela. Okay, na huyo pia nikampoteza. Rashid.
Alright, asante. Saa 3 bado dakika 14, kuna simu 3 zimeingia kabla kuweza kuendelea mbele. Mko huru kujibu either of the calls ambazo zimeingia.
Okay. Nikianza na hilo swala la kwanza, mambo ya serikali. Ni lazima nikubali pia kulikuwa na nafikiri alikuwa na ashiria ile swala la kule Shakahola. Kweli. Kumekuwa na utepetevu kidogo pale kwa sababu serikali ina network ambayo maybe ingekuwa imetumika vizuri, hili swala lingekuwa limejulikana mapema. Kwa sababu kuna wale wazee wa nyumba 10, kuna wazee wa vijiji, na kuna hiyo administration chief, assistant chief na watu kama hao. So ilichukua muda sana kwa serikali kujua. In fact ni wananchi wenyewe, wale wananchi kidogo naishi kule ndio wal raise hiyo alarm. Kwa hivyo nafikiri hapo kulikuwa na utepetevu kidogo. Na hii nafikiri na iwe kama wake up call kwa wale ambao wamepewa majukumu ya kulinda usalama wa nchi. Lazima wawe very active huko mashinani, lazima wa activate hizo networks zao ili mambo kama haya yasiweze kutokea. Sasa tunaongea kuhusu Shakahola, lakini Kilifi ninajua kuna matatizo makubwa mengine zaidi ambayo pengine sisi kama viongozi tumeanza kuyaona. Hayo kuna makanisa kadha wa kadha ambayo pia yana mirengo ama yanakuja na mirengo kama ile ya Pastor Mackenzie. Na sasa hivi vile tumejua ule uchafu wa Pastor Mackenzie, wacha tuangalie wale marafiki zake, kwa sababu kuna marafiki kule Kilifi ambao wana makanisa kama haya na wanaambia wagonjwa kuwa wasikunywe madawa, watawapatia maji matakatifu ambayo yatawatibu. Ukienda Kilifi County Hospital saizi, ukitembea kwa hizo maodi, utashangaa kwa sababu wamama wana vichupa vya maji vya kanisa fulani hapo. Wanakataa kunywa dawa, wanasema ama hata kama ni lazima kunywa dawa, lakini lazima kunywe dawa na hayo maji ya huyo pastor. Naona ukiangalia chini ya magodoro wana vitambaa vyeupe ambavyo wamepewa na huyo pastor. Naona sasa mimi nafikiri wakitoka Shakahola wacha wakuje Kilifi, kwa sababu hapo pia kuna shida ambayo tunaiona inakuja na si kitambo
Haya, mheshimiwa on your part.
Mambo ya serikali nafikiria amesema tu jambo nilikuwa najaribu kuelezea wa Kenya. Na nimekubaliana na yeye. Ukiona watu 2, 3 mpaka 73 wamekufa bila serikali kujua, kuna tatizo mahali. Lakini hii mambo, huyu kuna jamaa mwingine amepiga simu hapa amesema siji 15 bilioni ilichukuliwa, sasa wafanyakazi wangojea raia waalishwe. Ninataka nimwambie hakuna siku serikali itaweka chakula kwa meza ya kila Mkenya. Njia ile pesa inafikia hawa raia huko chini ni kupitia wafanyakazi wenyewe. Wafanyakazi wakilipwa msara, hawa ndio wako kila mahali, wananunua kwa maduka ya watu na pesa inazambaa inaenda katika masinani. Lakini kama wafanyakazi hawana pesa, hata wafanyabiashara hawezi kuwa na pesa. Na hiyo watu wengi wajui. So kama unataka pesa hiyo katika nchi na kila mtu awe na pesa, lipa wafanyakazi kwanza. Wafanyakazi ndio wataenda kununua kwa hizo maduka, na wale wafanyabiashara ya huko chini kabisa, huyo mama mboga atapata pesa kama mfanyakazi amelipa msara, ameenda amenunua mboga yake. Kama mfanyakazi hana pesa hawezi nunua mboga, hata mwenye anauza mboga atakuwa na njaa. Hiyo ndio sababu tunasema mfanyakazi lazima lipwe mzuri, lazima lipwe timely, na pesa ipatikane, ndio hao watu wa empower watu kwenda huko chini. Walipe fee, walimu pia wapate chakula ya watoto shule, walimu wapate msara, na mama mboga apate pesa aende ause kwa shule, na mwenye jua kali apate, mtu analete gari yake atengeneze, mtu anunue drisa yake kwa welding yake, namna hiyo. Hiyo ndio njia pesa ya serikali inaenda kwa raia. Lakini ukingojea nyumbani, sasa serikali italeta chakula ama pesa, utakufa hapo hapo.
Labda tuna dakika 10 kuweza kumaliza kipindi. Naona siku hizi kuna fursa ya mawaziri kuja katika bunge na wanajibu baadhi ya maswali ambapo nyinyi wa bunge mmeweza kuwauliza. Na leo pia niko na swali hapo. Wafanyikazi wengi hawajalipwa malipo yao ya uzeni ama pension. Je, shida iko wapi waheshimiwa, na suluhu ni vipi? Na je, sijui miongoni mwenu mshawahi pewa haya malalamishi na mnatarajia labda kuyauliza kwa mawaziri?
Mambo ya pension, sisi pia ni wa Kenya na tunaishi na wananchi huko mashinani na wanatuambia hizi matatizo. Lakini hii yote inafanyika kwa sababu ya ile hali ya uchumi ambayo tumejipata kama nchi. Kwa hivyo changamoto bado tunairudisha kwa serikali, changamoto tunarudisha kwa wananchi, tulipe ushuru kwa wingi na pia serikali iweze kupea kipaumbele mambo ya kulipa wazee pension zao, kwa sababu ni jambo la kusikitisha kuona mzee ameretire vizuri lakini inachukua miaka 2-3 kabla ya aanze kupata pension yao. Wengi hata hawafiki ile hapata nafasi ya kuweza kutumia pension yao kwa sababu wanakufa kabla. Unajua kama umezoea miaka ya karibu 40 umekuwa ukipata mshahara, halafu all of a sudden sasa hizi umeretire, umeenda nyumbani, halafu serikali haikupei pension yako. Most of these pensioners hata wanaaga dunia kabla hawajaanza kureceive pension zao. So hili swala nafikiri ni muhimu pia tuliweze kuleta bunge, tuweze kuweka ama kushurutisha serikali, tuweze kupeana time frame ya kuwa mtu akiretire kama ni December, maybe kufikia March, April, baada ya miezi 2-3 aanze kupata pension yake. Nafikiri kila kitu tukiweka ndani ya sheria itakuwa rahisi kwa sisi kama bunge kufuatilia.
Wacha niongee mambo matatu. How do you expect the government to pay pensioners when counties don't have money? How do you expect government to pay pensioners when the government employees are not paid in time? How do you expect pensioners to be paid their pensions when parliament is not having money? The problem I said very clearly, and I want to repeat, the government and the people who are now running this government must stop talking. They should concentrate and work for Kenyans. When Kibaki took over the government from Moi, I think we had the worst economy. Kibaki never talked, but he fixed it. This government we have currently is talking too much, but they are forgetting one thing. The president currently was the deputy president. He was in that government. So I expected him now, when he took over the government, because he was an insider, to start driving. Instead of driving the vehicle, he's talking too much. It's high time we need to sit down and start working for this country. But if we continue talking, which means we are still in politics, this economy will never improve. Kenyans will never realize the fruits of their sweat, and will continue lamenting. We talk about pensioners. What we need to look for now, if you want to come to parliament on pensions, how do we review that pension? Because the least paid pension in this country currently is 2,500. How do you expect those people to survive on 2,500?
Mheshimiwa, let's go back to Kiswahili a little bit.
You know, unajua hii jambo yani mimi kama mtu yule amekaa katika hii kazi ya wafanyakazi. Sometimes ukiona watu vile wanaongea na mimi nikienda huko nje nione watu mimi na represent, ndio yani you feel it, kwa sababu unajua ukijumlisha pensions unaongea juu ya watu, ujui kuna mtu ama kuna group ya wafanyakazi wale wamefanyia serikali hii kazi, wameretire, wameenda nyumbani, na kila mwezi wanangojea 2,500. Pesa ile iko sawa na pesa tunalipa pesa ya wazee. Na huyu ni mzee hajawahi fanya kazi anyway, anapata msara ile iko sawa na yule mtu alifanyia serikali mwaka 30 years service, 2,500. Mimi kitu ningeomba serikali saa hii waangalie ya kwamba yule mtu anapata pension ya chini kabisa iwe improved, ndio wa pensioners angalau wapate maisha, ndio waishi. Na hao pensioners, ile kitu tunatakana tuangalie kwa bunge sawa kabisa. Mtu yule amefanyia serikali maisha ni mwaka yote, wakati bado ilikuwa na nguvu, ameenda nyumbani, ana medical cover. Na wewe na mimi saa hii tunalipa hizo medical cover na kila kitu, na hatuendi hospitali kwa sababu bado tuko kwa mwaka, tuko na nguvu, tuwezi kuwa na ugonjwa hizi nyingi. Wakati utakuwa unahitaji hiyo matibabu ni wakati umestaafu na unatoka nyumbani, unatoka kwa kazi mkono mtupu. Kitu tumeweka kwa hawa pensioners ndio wakitoka kazi waende wakufe haraka, ndio wasikule hii pensions. Kama tunataka kusaidia hawa watu to improve pensions, hao watu waende nyumbani na medical cover. Angalau hata kama si ya NHIF, watu wapate nafasi, kwa sababu wale wengi hao watu mtu anaretire hivi akona high blood pressure. Saa hiyo ndio mtu akona cancer. Saa hiyo ndio mtu akona ugonjwa ya sukari, na unapatiwa 2500. Utaenda hospitali gani?
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa, unazungumza vizuri, lakini muda ndo huo. Nina dakika 2 na nataka kila mmoja hazitumie hizo dakika zake 2 vizuri. Mheshimiwa Kazungu, ustawi wa taifa letu ni wafanyikazi, na ili swali kama sitawauliza kidogo mimi mwenyewe nitajihisi niko chini. Sasa tunajua kuna mazungumzo kati ya Kenya Kwanza na vile vile pia Azimio. Na tumesikia kwamba upande wa Azimio umesema umetishia utaandaa maandamano. Na unajua maandamano yakifanyika wafanyikazi waumia na idara za kazi zaumia. Your thoughts tukimalizia.
Mwanzo nataka ni pongeze upande wa Azimio kwa sababu ya kukubali kuja katika mazungumzo na serikali. Kwa sababu wakiendelea na mambo ya maandamano inamaanisha kuwa uchumi utazidi kudorora na wafanyikazi wataendelea kukosa mshahara. Kwa hivyo maandamano haitasaidia nchi hii. Wacha viongozi wakae na wakubaliane, lakini bora yale makubaliano yawe ni kwa manufaa ya taifa zima la Kenya, isiwe ni makubaliano ambayo yatafaidi watu wawili watatu. Hapo tutakuwa tumekosea wananchi wa Kenya. Na nazidi kuambia wa Kenya kwamba hii serikali bado ni changa sana, na wacha tuipatie muda. Kwa sababu unajua kama serikali ni changa, mawaziri ndio wanasettle kwa ofisi saizi, ma-PS wameingia juzi. Tukisema kuwa tuwalazimishe saizi waweze kubadilisha mambo ya uchumi tayari ghafla, maybe watafanya makosa zaidi, kwa sababu ukifanya kazi under pressure wakati mwingine unazidi kutokomea. Kwa hivyo tuwapatie nafasi. Wamesema ndani ya mwaka mmoja gharama maisha itakuwa imeshuka. Let us give them the benefit of doubt.
Okay. Yeah. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Tom Odege, ukimalizia.
Ningependa ni mwambie serikali hii mambo ya wafanyikazi mahali tumefikia, kama tunataka watu wa serikali wafanye kazi na uchumi ya Kenya inuke, waone ya kwamba watu wamelipwa mzuri, mshahara iongezwe, ndio watu wafanye kazi kama wako na roho ya kufanya kazi, ndio uchumi ya Kenya itakuwa sawa. Na kwa wale wameretire, mimi kama mmoja wale wamesimamia wafanye kazi, ningeomba serikali, kwa sababu tumenegotiate na serikali, tuone ya kwamba wale wamestaafu wamepata medical cover. Hii cover ya matibabu watu wanahitaji wakati wamekuwa uzeeni. Saa hii tunachanga hii pesa na kuna kitu tuna benefit kwa hii pesa. Kama mimi sijawahi lala kwa ward. Hiyo nini yangu medical cover na benefit tu kama mama ameenda kuzaa. Watoto wangu pia sijaona mtoto amelala kwa ward. Sasa wakati nimeretire, hii pesa yangu nimechangia my insurances na serikali inatakikana nikikuwa mzee wanilinde wakati nimeretire, kwa sababu mimi pia saa hii natoa hiyo pesa inalinda watu fulani. So watu fulani pia watoe pesa wakati mimi pia nimekuwa mzee wanilinde. Hiyo ndio njia wa Kenya watakuwa na maisha, na wale wameretire pia watafeel wamekuwa accepted na wamekuwa appreciated na serikali. Lakini njia vile tunaenda saa hii bado mambo itakuwa magumu. Lakini juu ya maandamano tulifika tu break kidogo. Hatujawacha, bado tutarudi kwa barabara. Na hiyo si mbali, ni Monday. Asante sana.
Na mtazamaji wa Swahili siku zote wanasema kila kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Niweze kushukuru wageni wangu kwa kuweza kuja ndani ya studio. Shukran sana Mheshimiwa mbunge wa Nyatike Tom Odege, na vile vile pia asante sana Mheshimiwa shabiki shakiki wa Sanani, lakini ambebi ligi ya mbebi. Tuliwaambia ndovu tuko kule juu ya tangu.
Bado kuna fighting chance.
Fighting chance. Game 3 mundraw 1-1 2-2 3-3, na nasikia saizi mwafanya bidii mechi ijayo mfanye 4-4.
Kesho tuko na Man City, na nakwambia kwa mara ya kwanza Arsenal itaitandika Man City.
Haya. Mtazamaji, huyu ni mbunge Kazungu kutoka kule maeneo ya Ganze. Asanteni sana na kikosi chote ambacho kimeweza kufanikisha kipindi chetu hiki cha leo. Ni wengi, asanteni sana wapiga picha wetu kutoka upande wa runinga. Asanteni sana waelekezi wangu kutoka kutoka upande wa runinga. Shukran sana mkuu ama msimamizi wa vipindi vya runinga bwana Michael Ndetei. Shukran sana vile vile pia msimamizi mkuu wa idara ya redio ndani ya shirika la utangazaji nchini KBC B Mary Daraja. Asante sana mkuu wa kitengo Martin Kingasia, mtayarishi wa kipindi bwana Geoffrey Ondonga Ondita, na mwelekezi wangu na msimamizi Lucy Wahome. Kwa wale mafundi wangu wote wa mitambo wa redio nasema shukran sana. Kwa niaba ya mwenzangu Dora Manya upande wa pili wa studio, mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo na kuregesha kwako Dorin kule GMK.
Right, and before we embark on our health conversation this Tuesday morning, just looking at stroke awareness, we want to quickly cross over to the Supreme Court of Kenya, where we understand that the Chief Justice Martha Koome is already there to preside over the swearing in of the NPS CEO, that is the National Police Service Commissioner Chief Executive Officer, who is Dr. Silas Olo, who obviously will be taking up that particular position, and Dr. Mark Opio, who was in serving capacity, said to hand over to Dr. Silas Olo. So we want to head over to the Supreme Court of Kenya there, where CJ is presiding over that. Watch.
Your skills and dedication will support the Commission's reform initiatives, including in the areas of welfare and capacity building of officers, promotion of meritocracy, and fostering a culture of human rights observance and accountability within the service, recognizing that the people are our masters and we are their servants. We in the judiciary and the wider justice sector, working under the auspices of the National Council on the Administration of Justice, pledge our support to the Commission in your efforts to create a police service that is responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Kenyan people. To conclude, I urge you to continue helping the Commission guide the police service to discharge their mandate with integrity, diligence, and impartiality as expected by our Constitution and other laws. And as you have sworn in the oath of office, let the Constitution and the law be your guide always. Once again, congratulations on this very well-deserving appointment and on your being sworn in this morning as the CEO of the National Police Service Commission. I wish you well. God bless you and God guide you as you discharge your mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Justice, for those remarks. This, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our ceremony today. And at this juncture, we'll have a group photograph just at the stairs, after which you'll be free to leave. Thank you very much. So we can proceed to the stairs.
From the Supreme Court of Kenya, where we've just watched the swearing in of Dr. Silas Olo as the CEO of the National Police Service Commission, of course, taking over from Dr. Mark Opio, who was in acting capacity there. From there, we now come back to studio and train our focus on our health segment this Tuesday morning, looking at stroke awareness. And just to let you in, this is being looked at as one of the leading factors of disability globally. And even as we speak about that, we're looking at millions who suffer from one stroke or the other, still on a global capacity. And as we look into the Stroke Awareness Month, just coming in the next 5 days in the month of May, we look at the causes, the effects, the risk factors, treatment, prevention measures of what is called stroke, and also how we can integrate those who have been affected by one form of stroke or the other. That forms base of our discussion for the next 50 minutes or so, and I am holding court with Emily Nyanumba to my far right, who is a neuro-rehabilitation expert and also an instructor at KMTC. Right next to her is Evans Nyambega, who is a stroke and CVDS survivor and also the chair Stroke Association of Kenya. Lady and gent, karibu sana to the program.
Thank you so much.
Before we just get to stroke awareness, looking at causes, effects, let's just begin by understanding your practice, Emily. Neuro-rehabilitation. I really have to pronounce this very slowly so that I don't bite my tongue. What is this?
Okay, Doreen, thank you so much for the opportunity. Now, when we are talking of neuro-rehabilitation, neuro-rehabilitation is a branch of physiotherapy. Maybe let me talk of what is physiotherapy, and then I can come to the many branches of physiotherapy. Now, what is physiotherapy? Physiotherapy is actually human movement science. So what does that mean? That means as physiotherapists, our core work is to ensure that we maximize the physical potential of a human being. And this maximizing comes in when we have an injury or a disease. And for us to do that, we have many areas. Our scope of maximizing that human potential is actually dealing with all the body systems. Now, when we are talking of neurorehabilitation, this is one of the branch of physiotherapy. So in physiotherapy, we have many branches, like you can specialize in neurorehabilitation, and this neurorehabilitation is now dealing with those patients who have neurological conditions and cardiovascular conditions which are affecting the functioning of a human body. So that is neurorehabilitation. So, and we also have other branches like orthopedic manual therapy. Now this is whereby physiotherapists come in and they try to maximize human potential in when the structures like bones, tissues, joints are affected. And again, we have another branch of what you call sports medicine in physiotherapy. Now, this is a branch which is concerned with rehabilitating those athletes or those who participate in various sports after they have gotten various injuries. Then again, we have women health. Now, these are physiotherapists who are concerned with pelvic floor muscles. Yeah, when a mother has given birth and they have issues with their muscles of the pelvic girdle, what happens? So as physios, we can come in and try to strengthen those muscles. And also we have pediatric. Now this is whereby we are managing various conditions in children. The conditions range from neurological conditions like CP. We have orthopedic conditions like CTV, all those. So those are the various branches of physiotherapy. So when we are talking of neuro, basically dealing with neurological conditions which are causing disabilities and also cardiovascular conditions. Yes.
But ideally this is a form of physiotherapy.
Actually, this is physiotherapy, which
just
I call
easy understanding.
Yes,
physiotherapy.
Yes.
And I'll come to you, Evans, because you have a story, much as you're the chair of SAUK, that is the Stroke Association of Kenya. But before we get to that, Emily, just so that we can create context to this discussion, now that we understand what basically you do in your practice, what causes this stroke?
Okay. Actually, I can say that stroke is either a cardiovascular condition or a neurological condition. So what do we mean when we are talking of cardiovascular condition? Now, these are conditions which are affecting the heart, the blood vessels,
Yes.
and also the blood itself. Actually, that is the cardiovascular system.
Okay.
And when again we say that stroke is a neurological condition,
Yes.
it's because when we are talking of blood, all the cells in the body, they need blood to survive. Now, stroke becomes a neurological condition because the nerve cells, these are the cells which are found in the brain. The nerve cells are depending on the blood which is circulating in the brain. So now, if we don't have blood, then that means the nerve cells are going to die. And
Just hold it there. Allow me to butt in. I really want us to go very slowly so we can understand what exactly we're talking about.
Yes.
So from what I've gathered so far, the minute there's inefficient circulation of blood in the brain, that automatically causes stroke.
Of course.
yes.
Okay, I'm following.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
so
you
keep
for
on,
following. So now we are saying that the nerve cells, for them to survive, they need blood. Why do they need this blood? It's because the blood is where oxygen is carried in. The blood is where all the nutrients are carried in. So now, when there's an interruption of blood flow
Yes.
in the brain, then that means the brain cells, which you're calling the nerve cells, they're going to die. And then once they die, automatically, that is stroke. So now stroke is simply the interruption of blood flow into the brain. Yes.
In simple description,
Yes.
interruption of blood flow.
That's
And I know there are various other factors that would lead to stroke, and we'll come to that momentarily. But before then, Evans, you are a stroke survivor.
Exactly.
Just walk me through how that happened before you got to this point whereby now would call you a survivor and a whole chairman of the Stroke Association of Kenya. What are the events that led to that condition?
Thank you for the question,
Yes.
Doreen. And I'm happy to be here today. Now, when we talk about stroke, as Yanumba said, actually this is an accident of the brain, meaning that your blood is disturbed circulating in one area, so that now the supply is interrupted. Now, actually since 2010, I've been living in this condition.
This is 13 years.
Yeah, those are 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is not an easy thing. It is a journey that has a lot of problems.
Yes.
One, you need to take medication. Two, you need to go to physio, so that the body now, it continues to grow. Because when you have gotten the stroke, it means that actually some part has no regular blood flow. That is why we go to physio, so that they can wanaweza fanyia sisi ukarabati,
Yes.
so that it now starts again functioning.
So prior to 2010, you were just living.
Yeah,
what
I
we
was
call-
actually.
Allow me to say it as that normal, as we.
Yeah,
all
just like
understand.
you.
Yes.
Like her.
Normal kind of life, as we should say.
Yes.
So what is this that happened in 2010? Was this just a sudden flow of blood that stopped in the brain? Was there something that happened? What exactly was this, Evans?
Actually, a good question indeed.
Yes.
I cannot say it's sudden. Why? Because there are signs that it gives
Okay.
earlier, but you
Like
can't.
what?
Yeah, but you can't interpret. You take it as normal. For example, there was on and off headache.
Okay.
Okay. There was on and off what you called about remembering remembering things which you plan in the morning. I want to do ABCD, but all of a sudden it is.
You forget?
Yeah, you forget.
Okay.
You can just want to go and pick something from the house. Then on reaching there, you don't have that thing in the mind anymore, and then you start again.
And you just really can't remember.
Yeah.
You can't.
Of course, the body temperature also was also an issue. So those are the signs that this thing was giving earlier. But you see, I was taking it as normal. You see, I didn't know. But you see now, with time, and of course after visiting the clinics and all this, they give us all this information. Such that now we are not as green as we were. So there are signs that it gives, and these are the signs. Now we should now talk about around those signs, so that we tell people that when you get all these things, it is not normal. It is it is reminding you that no, do something about it.
Yeah, I hear
okay.
you. I hear you.
And these things are caused by what we eat.
Okay.
Basically, is what we eat. That's why we have all these problems.
Your diet.
Yeah, your diet, like nyam chom. You know, it's so sweet, but you see, it has repercussions.
I hear you. Just told you there. We'll come to that in a short while. But there are things that you're mentioning, and to someone who's watching, even for me, let me just speak for myself. I would assume these are just those normal symptoms that you would experience, especially if you're fatigued, from a tired.
Even fatigue. Yeah,
you know, because you talk about on and off headaches.
Yeah.
You talk about forgetting very quickly.
Yeah.
You talk about body temperature rising.
Yeah.
And I want to get your mind on this one, Emily, because you get such kind of signs on a normal day, and the easiest thing is to go to the counter. You get that Panadol, for instance.
That's right.
You get, the syrup for your temperature. Or you just say, okay, it's fine. Forgetting, let me just sleep, I'll wake up, and I'll remember all these things I was supposed to do. From your practice, listening to what Evans is saying, are these some of the symptoms that patients would come and say, months prior to this, or years prior to this, I was experiencing this oftentimes. I was just like, it's normal.
Yes.
Is this the same case scenario? Is it the same story?
Yeah, actually, one thing I can talk about cardiovascular conditions, they don't have cardinal signs that can tell you that this is pure stroke. Yes, so people tend
so
to...
there's no standard
there's no...
that will say this is peculiar sign of an oncoming stroke.
Exactly.
There's none.
Yeah, because when you look at headache, he has talked of headache. Sometimes even if you don't sleep well, you tend to get headache. If you're tired and stressed, you'll get headache. So people tend to assume that this is just a normal headache. So what I can say that some of these cardiovascular conditions, they don't have cardinal signs that we can use and say this is pure stroke. But then again, we are being told that any time when you experience such signs like headache, fatigue, loss of memory, that is not normal. That is something that you need for a checkup so that you find out what is happening. Yeah, but now as Kenyans, because we know it's normal, I'm tired, so therefore I have an headache, so we tend to assume. And that's why now stroke just happens, because you saw some signs, but you ignored them.
You ignored them.
Yeah.
So anytime you see these signs, much as we will say and think it's normal, it is not normal.
It's not normal.
All right, I hear you. Well said. So now, Evans, this is 2010. You've been seeing the signs, you ignored, but now this has happened.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how life was after this diagnosis, and now you realize it will not go back to normal as it were, at least for some time. so to speak?
First of all, there are two scenarios here. Before and after.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, before, I was very strong. Very strong. I was doing things rightly. But you see, I was doing them in excess because I didn't know. Okay? Like previously, before a stroke, like 99, I had, before that, I had engaged myself in beer. Okay? And then such things, you know, they may not give you the results immediately. The results, you know, you experience much later. Okay? Because I now, even if I had left beer, I had developed a peculiar thing called, you know, the body temperature was
very high.
Was high, on and off, you know, and I used to bath with cold water, but I all of a sudden I found out that I was switched to hot.
Warm water.
Yeah, warm water. So I was trying to ask myself what may have happened, but I could not get an answer. Okay. In the meantime, the stroke thing was still digging into me. Then after now, 2010, you know, at 2010, I found out that that fateful day, I was unable to, you know, to wake up because I was a very early riser. I was unable to wake up. Then after...
So it just happened in a split like this?
Yeah.
Just one day, just...
Yeah, it's one day. Actually, I was unable to, after failing to wake up, all of a sudden, I was now not able to think. You know, I could not think. I'm just there. I cannot make a decision, you know, on what is really happening to me. And then now I was told I slept. Okay, after sleeping, in fact, I came to wake up after like 10 or 12 days.
Wait.
Okay, because this thing happened in my rural home. Okay. Then my brother came, took me to an health center that was around, told them, look at this young man, amongst work, and if there is anything, let me know. Okay. I was told they never discovered anything. Okay, so I was just there. Then the following day he took me to level 5, which is KC there. I was, they were able to get a CT scan, but the interpreter of the CT scan was not around. This is now like the 4th day or 5th day. Then
at this time, this 40th day,
I'm still asleep.
You're not able to think.
I'm not able to.
So asleep meaning you're not eating?
No.
What is happening?
Eating, they tell me I was eating. But I could not, you know, I could not, you know, open my eyes.
So you are literally just there?
I was just there. Okay. Then they decided to move me from level 5 to 10 work. 10 work is in Pomet. Then they were told that the Mzungu normally handles stroke, such cases, left yesterday to America, but he's coming after maybe like a day. He never came. Then you see like this is the days are going. Then now this was like almost 7th or 8th day. Then my handlers, who are my brothers, decided that my wife was here in Nairobi. Made arrangements in Kenyatta because she has NHIF. Then I was now flown, taken from there by ambulance up to here. That's like 10th or 11th day. So it was a bit tricky, but in all, I was
So
like...
for 11, 12 days, you don't know what is happening?
I don't know what's happening. But now, in that, maybe that could be the 12th day, I was able to see when I'm in the hospital. I could see here, I think, I can hear. But I can see this is like an hospital. But where
After 12 days?
Yeah, but where is this? Then, it was... Anyway, it is... it was a sad moment for me, but I'm happy now that at least after undergoing all those, I'm able to be alive. I thank God.
Indeed, we do.
Yeah.
We do thank God.
Thank God.
What he's saying, Emily, orients my next question, because now I'm looking at effects. And I'd also just want to understand, how is that possible that for 12 days, you literally are not functioning? You are not dead. Can we say you're alive, but you don't know? Okay, just what from your practice, what is this?
Okay, thank you for that question. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Actually, I'm surprised to hear that story that he stayed for close to 12 days without getting medical attention.
Yeah.
Now, he was still alive.
Yeah.
And that's why he's still alive up to now. So now, what happens when we are talking of stroke? Now, when you get stroke, actually we have two types of stroke. We have what you call hemorrhagic stroke, and we have
what's that?
Hemorrhagic stroke and ischemic stroke. Now, ischemic stroke is when these blood vessels in the brain are blocked, meaning there's no blood flow. So a particular part of the brain dies because the blood vessels are blocked, so there's no blood flow. We also have hemorrhagic type of stroke. Now, hemorrhagic, this is when the blood vessels tend to burst. So it means they become weaker and weaker. Now, when the pressure is too high, what happens? They're not able to take that pressure, high pressure. So what happens? They burst. Now, when we are handling this type of strokes, at first, you may not know what the patient is suffering from. And management, the best management of stroke is the time period that was taken from the time the stroke occurred up to the time first treatment was done.
Just hold it there, Emily. I want us to take a very quick breather so that when you come back now, you explain to us that. So that now we can actually relate to what Evans was saying and trying to understand how it's possible that you can stay 12 days. You don't know what is happening to you. You're literally unconscious in a way that you don't understand, yet you're very much alive, not dead.
You're a cabbage.
You know?
Yes.
So let's take that breather. We circle back and you explain to us more about that and just how this management would come about and how it will save the day. All right, time for that breather. We recoil with plenty more of this conversation, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
kuna mgala wako hapa.
Who the hell are you?
Tunataka kupiga exchange. Kwa hiyo prisoner mko naye hapo na wewe mgala.
Prisoner mgani unaongea kuhusu nini?
Lola.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa. Ni uchungu sijui imetoka wapi.
Lola.
Uko sawa je, unapiga nduru? Nini mbaya?
Unapa close Twende Zari. Zari. Unapa close
مياد أوغاتي عدة شيء الكيغا
نعم
وحربا إني قوثان
Zari.
وحربا إني وادا إنتان
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
All right, this conversation is just good off air as how it was on air. And welcome back. We continue our pace with this discussion looking at stroke awareness. This is in preparation for the Stroke Awareness Month coming in next month, that is in the month of May. And before we took that break, Emily, because I was just trying also to understand all this while we were off air. But then you're telling us about the management, because in my head I was trying to reconcile how you will be well, still kind of not well in 12 days. The only thing that's happening to you is just breathing, but nothing else. How does this occur? You are telling me about the two types of strokes and the management of the same therein.
Yes, so now when we are talking of these two types of stroke, what will matter is the management of the two types of stroke. Now, we say that when stroke has occurred, we have a golden period of management, and that is within 3 hours to 3.5 hours. Now, during this time, that is the time now from the time when stroke has occurred up to the time you reach hospital and treatment starts. Now, if you're able to reach hospital within those 3 hours and treatment starts, then the neurological defects are able to be reversed back and someone can come back to normal.
So 3 hours is the standard?
3 hours actually is, we call it the golden period of stroke management.
Those 3 hours.
12 days?
No, you see,
now,
ignorance.
So because of now he stayed for 12 days, that's why we are seeing all the neurological deficits he's having. Otherwise, if he was managed within that period, then we won't have all these neurological deficits that we are seeing today.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So to avert all this after effects, like the disability, for instance, not being able to function as it were, it's quick management of the same.
That's
That's why
right.
you're saying the golden time frame, the standard maximum, I should say, it is the 3 hours.
3 hours.
For example, I will add something there. How will you know that a person is suffering from stroke? We use a system called FAST. Look at the face. It is you know, it is stripped.
In one direction?
Yeah, in one direction.
And just staying as such?
Yeah, the face. You look at like this. I will tell you, oh, what has happened? Because it will be like this.
Like
And then arm.
Okay.
We now tell that person, raise up your hands. Ukiona badala ya mbili anachukua moja, ujue hapo sasa iko stroke.
So ingine hawezi?
Yeah, because it cannot come up. Okay?
That should tell you something already.
Yes. And then speech. What's your name? My name, Dolly. You know, he cannot or she cannot, pronounce properly. Then you will just know that this is a stroke. And once you have confirmed this, now it is time to call an ambulance so that you can now take this patient to hospital, so that now within that period you are able to use the 3-hour window. Okay? So those are the things that we need to tell our people, so that as fast as we are able to do them, at least we can be sure we can go back to the way we were.
Yeah. To that normal.
That's right.
I mean, for you, God saved you, Evans. Regardless, 12 days and looking at the 3-hour window, and these are hours on end.
True.
I think what saved me is just God.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just God. And of course, such people, the physio, the doctors, were able to at least give me something.
The neuro-rehabilitator.
That's right. These are the
Yes. So then you speak of this, because I was trying to ask earlier that how would then your handlers, if it's brothers, sisters, people around you, how will they just be sitting? The only thing you're doing is breathing, nothing else, and they will sit day 1, day 2, day 3, 1 week passes, almost 2 weeks.
The goodness,
and you're telling me it's because of the lack of information.
The goodness, okay, wherever they took me, like in the first level 5. Okay, I was still in the hospital bed, but you see, they could not do.
What did the doctors say in that?
They could not get those people there.
There was no doctor.
Yeah.
So
because
who told you you are okay?
No, wherever they are taking me, they could be told we are not seeing anything.
That's what I'm asking. Who was this who said they can't see anything?
Yeah,
was like in
the first, of course. Like in the first
clinical officer, actually.
Yes, they said they're not able to see anything.
So let me just bring Emily on that one. Emily, this is a clinical officer, and someone with more insight than probably maybe me or anybody else in terms of medicine, unless you've done your own research and you know. And they will tell someone like Evans those 13 years back.
Not even me, my handlers.
Oh, your handlers, because at that point, you could listen.
I was in a position to...
Thank you for that correction.
Yes.
Right, so then they will tell Evans' handlers that he's okay, we can't see anything wrong. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is someone who has that insight, the knowledge. So if we are talking about sensitization and creating awareness, does it need to start from there before we get to the community level? Because the first line of defense tells you are okay. And truth be told, you are not.
I think they lack facilities. And of course, once they have said that they're not seeing anything, I mean, how...
Yeah, of course you believe that, because I mean, they're the first line of defense. So is it a question of facility, Emily, or is it that there's something wrong with the teaching practice? What is it?
Actually, it's about everything.
It's everything?
It's about everything. Starting from the facilities. Starting from the facilities. Again, going to the clinicians in those areas. And of course, we are not talking of areas in Nairobi where people have this knowledge. We are talking of the facilities back at home, whereby there's a clinic, there's a dispensary, but we don't have even a clinical officer. What we have, maybe these are nurse aides, who are not well trained, and they're the ones who are posting like clinical officers. They're the ones who are posting like doctors or medical practitioners. So what happens when you go to such a facility? First thing, you don't have qualified staffs, so they will not be able to diagnose that condition in the first place.
That's right.
And then again, you come, they don't have the right equipment to make the right diagnosis, because we say once you have done your physical assessment and you are sure this is stroke, and even you are sure that this is hemorrhagic or ischemic stroke, before you start any treatment, then you are supposed to do an investigation, either an MRI or a CT scan. Now from there, that's when you will be sure that I'm dealing with hemorrhagic stroke, because then again, you cannot give treatment for ischemic to an hemorrhagic patient. So now once you have done the investigations, then you are able to know that's when you are going to now start your treatment. But then again, now we are seeing we don't have this right diagnosis, and that's how we end up having patient being taken back home in the name of you are okay. Yes.
Question of facility, okay, that would say maybe lies with national government, county governments, and there's been a lot of concern in the healthcare system of this country. Just the other day, we heard of the various counties who are planning to go on strike because of non-payments, less doctors, not enough of them in these facilities. So really, when you respond to that in such a manner, I can really tie down to what exactly you're saying. But the question of not trained properly, does this present a loophole in our training facilities? Just as you respond to that, and maybe how can we go about that before we come to what you do in terms of awareness at SAL?
Okay. Being a lecturer, I know that we train our students, we train our healthcare professionals well. Now what happens when they go down there? Remember, there's that knowledge that you got when you went to school in the first time. That knowledge you're supposed to keep on upgrading it. So what you find, what's actually is happening, people went to school, yes, they gathered knowledge, but remember, knowledge has changed over time. Yes. So now if you don't go back to school, then it means you're still practicing that old knowledge which changed long time ago. So you don't have the updated, the current knowledge that people are using to practice. So now those are some of the things which make people not to get to be able to make a proper diagnosis.
And early diagnosis.
And early diagnosis.
So that lies within the practitioner, that yes, you went to school, you understand the ropes of things, but as you're there, keep upgrading.
Keep upgrading.
It's life is dynamic. It's never on a straight line.
It's very dynamic.
I hear you. So then,
another thing is, yes, most people, they are not aware of other professionals, what they do. Like now, when he was sent back home, if we had someone who was more, not more knowledgeable, but having an idea, if I don't have this facility, let me refer to another hospital. Because if I'm not able to find a diagnosis, but I'm looking at this patient is looking sick, then let me make a referral to another hospital whereby they can be able to do those investigations, and also those other referrals, they have specialists who can be able to examine and come up with a diagnosis.
So then perhaps I'm seeing a bit of laxity, but I mean that is a whole discussion altogether, because when I just listen to you respond to that in such a way, Emily, I'm seeing laxity, because yes, it's true, you don't have the facility, but as you say, why don't refer to another, you know, bigger hospital that perhaps has the requisite facilities to ensure that this patient is diagnosed properly and well, as opposed to saying, okay, you're okay, go home, and you can clearly see
this person is not okay.
So then tell me, Evans, at Chair Stroke Association of Kenya, SAL. Talk to me about the kind of awareness you do, sensitization. Is it community level? Is it on a also the practitioners bit, because you've also gathered the fact that some don't even understand what this is. So how does your demographic look like?
Now, SAOK was formed following what happened, especially to me. Because I felt we cannot go this way anymore. As I was going for my rehabilitation in Kenyatta first, I could find different faces, affected by a stroke. That is why I said, I think we better form this thing so that it can talk on our behalf. Okay? Then we formed it 2015. We were licensed at the Registrar of Societies. Then we started now creating awareness. In fact, the first awareness campaign was in Kenyatta Hospital, where we talked about risk factors, those things that affect us, so that you now get the stroke. Things like cholesterol, lack of exercise, water, things like there are many, mainly based on food. Okay.
Yes.
Now we have created awareness in several places, like in the consecutive years. 2016 we did it in Afi House down there. Then the following coming year we did it in Dagoretti. Okay. Then the following year we did in Kenyatta University, because we are not limited to any place.
How does the structure of this awareness look like, now that you're mentioning different places in different years?
Yeah, we invite experts to come and give talks, like her, like other doctors, so that we at the end of the day we create awareness among these people. Then we also give our stories. Okay, so this is how I was, this is how it happened. You see, why are we giving stories? To inspire others.
I hear you.
Okay, because unaona a stroke person thinks ako peke yake. Okay, wengine wako ni yeye tu. So if you keep such testimonies, and Kenyans like evidence-based things. Okay, they now agree. Oh, okay, I'm not alone. And then now you see healing as a process now starts. Okay,
I hear you.
But if you keep to yourself and live on denial, you will die, and others will die. Okay.
Well said. Well said. So now,
so I am calling upon Kenyans to buy our idea of now spreading this stroke message, that anybody who is affected, anybody who feels like those things that we have said, you should now come out and go for measurement. You go, you measure your pressure, so that if you find out that it is high, they will advise you that now take the medicine A, B, C, D, and then we do exercises, and you'll be okay. This is that sentence.
I hear you. Thank you, Evans. And so then, just tell me, for this year's stroke awareness coming in beginning of next week for the stroke awareness month, where is it going to be taking place, and is it for the entire month?
Yeah, it is actually entire month, so that now we want to have people measured, so that we want to get rid of this stroke and other cardiovascular conditions. Hatutaki wale ambao watakufa tena, wale ambao wamekufa wanatosha.
I hear you.
So this MMM month, we...
What does MMM mean?
MMM 3 times.
Yes, triple M.
Yeah, triple M is May month of measurement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that now we shall now have teams here and there to do all these things. We actually, it will be decided, and you will know exactly where it will happen. Yeah, because there are other.
So it's not yet decided.
No, not yet decided, but there are other handlers like Kenya Cardiac Society. Actually, this is a society that it contains the cardiologists. These are the people now who are leading us on this MMM month. So we shall be with them, and we shall participate. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yes.
So then, Emily, we have about 4 minutes to exit this space. And so then I'd want us to also just look into prevention, because as Evans has also talked about those risk factors.
Yeah.
I mean, that is also one of those key things that we need to be considering. Who would have imagined how much diet really does go a long way? But so much so about even the treatment options, early diagnosis, as we've touched on a little bit earlier. Can this be prevented?
Yes. Remember, he has said one of the major causes is, and actually when we are talking in terms of causes, we have modifiable causes, and these are things like lifestyle, physical inactivity, we have diet, we have alcohol use and tobacco use. Now those are modifiable because we can change them. So if they are modifiable, if we change them, then we can prevent stroke. Other factors are non-modifiable, like age, genetics, and race. Now, we can prevent stroke first by changing our lifestyles. Yeah. For example, being physically active. That's one way of making the heart muscles to be strong. And if the heart muscles are strong, then they're going to pump blood in the normal way. When we change on our diet, when we eat a lot of saturated fats. Now this is what goes and accumulates in the walls of the blood vessels, making the blood vessels too narrow, and also they become hard. So that when the blood pressure is very high, if they're very hard, they cannot expand. So that means they can easily burst. Now, if we can change our diet so that we eat a balanced diet, which has more fruits and vegetables, then by doing so, we are trying to prevent stroke. Okay, if we become physically active, then we are trying to prevent stroke. Another thing is we prevent smoking. Actually, we say smoking is the major cause of the cardiovascular conditions. So if we prevent smoking and we reduce the alcohol intake, then all those things will help us not to get a stroke. So another way we can prevent this stroke is by creating awareness, educating people about the stroke recognition signs, which are very key. Like he has talked of the acronym word FAST. What are the signs? Like if they were able to identify those signs, then they could have known that straight this is stroke. Let's take our patient to the right hospital, which can have the right facilities. So now, one way we can be able to do that is to make sure that each and every person is aware of the causes of stroke,
and the signs also,
and the stroke recognition signs. So that once you see those, straight you know you are heading to hospital, and which particular hospital, which can have all those, the right facilities, and also the right facilities and equipment to investigate the type of stroke. Yes.
So what I'm getting from this discussion is that much as we have the treatment options, prevention, like you did also touch on genetic, and I believe there's really nothing so much you can do about issues that are genetic, but I'm also seeing a lot of awareness.
Yes.
Because even if you talk about early diagnosis, but you don't know what exactly you're diagnosing, so then what is this? So awareness is very key. That's why we had you here,
very important,
to talk to us about this awareness and what it means and entails, and it's coming up in the month of May.
And of course, Doreen,
as you finish.
Before you finish completely, actually we as SAOC are doing very important work. But we have challenges here and there. I could like to ask the public, those who are able to help us to do it, they can go to our website. We have there. And
which is?
Website is www.strokeassociationofkenya, one word, .or.ke.
Okay.
And we need like a container for an office to create a resource center for the people to come and we help.
Thank you.
So we are actually asking the public, those who are able to give us a container, we shall be
much grateful.
Very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you, Evans. I believe they have heard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And that has been Emily Nyanumba to my far right, who is a neuro rehabilitation expert and also an instructor at Kenya Medical Training College, that is KMTC. Right next to her is Evans Nyambega, stroke and CVDS survivor and also the chair Stroke Association of Kenya, SAOC. Definitely what is formed center of this discussion is stroke awareness, and this is in preparation for the Stroke Awareness Month. Just what you and I need to know as far as diagnosis, treatment, prevention and awareness of stroke is concerned. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya. Of course, thank you so much for watching, and from me and on behalf of the entire team, asante sana. We do this again tomorrow. Have a beautiful Tuesday morning.
Thank you.
I feel like Africa is not taking its space in the global design industry because I see other big brands manipulating our culture and selling it to us as their own, and it's quite sad. They're giving us second-hand goods instead of us giving them the originals. Why don't we set our own trend instead of absorbing what the world is giving us? That's why I've decided, you know what, I'm going to be original. I'm going to tell an African story through jewelry.
Sosha Nguve raised Koketso Mphomohlala created her own range of African